Chapter 1753. Is that so? Since you're so sure, I'll believe you this time. Yang Hongwu withdrew his murderous aura and said, "Let's go in. I want to see if it's really the nine-colored soul lotus. If it's really the case, I'll give you unexpected benefit." If it was really the nine-colored soul lotus, then he would owe him a favor and release that person. As long as he could obtain the nine-colored soul lotus, Yang Hongwu would have enough confidence. Even if the other party was really an expert at the pinnacle of the emperor, he would still have the ability to protect himself. So what if he released that person? After all, it was something from the legends. He was afraid that it wasn't real. "Yes, sir." Jia Yubong nodded and walked in front. Jia Yubong leaped up and approached the cliff. He disappeared in front of them. Clearly, he had entered the cliff. "Big brother Yang, it's not good for us to go in like this. Shouldn't we explore the way first?" Pang Lijuan said worriedly. "No need for that." Yang Hongwu shook his head. In fact, he had already left a strand of consciousness on Jia Yubong. This strand of consciousness couldn't be discovered by even an expert at the emperor level. This strand of consciousness could help Yang Hongwu investigate the situation inside. If it was killed, then Yang Hongwu naturally wouldn't go in. At this time, Yang Hongwu realized that the strand of consciousness had followed Jia Yubong into the cliff and saw the situation inside. There was a space inside the cliff. In this space, there was a soul pond. The so-called soul pond was a pond formed by the power of the soul. In the pond, there was a lotus. This lotus was exactly the same as the legendary soul lotus. A lotus bud was waiting to bloom. It had 9 colors. Is it really the 9-colored soul lotus? Yang Hongwu was shocked. No matter what, whether it was the real 9-colored soul lotus or not, he had to go in and investigate. If it was really the 9-colored soul lotus, then he would have profited greatly. If it wasn't, then this lotus wasn't simple either. It was a rare treasure. Therefore, this time, he had to go in, regardless of whether it was the real 9-colored soul lotus or not. That strand of consciousness quickly dissipated. After all, this space was very special. If a strand of consciousness was too strong, it would be easily discovered. Moreover, this strand of consciousness could only last for a short period of time. However, it was enough to explore the way and investigate the situation inside. Yang Hongwu took Pang Lijuan and Su 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 with him. After appearing in this space, Yang Hongwu felt a huge pressure. There was actually a force in this space that caused a huge suppression on his soul. The power of the soul lotus. Yang Hongwu took a deep breath. The suppression that this soul lotus gave off was too terrifying. Feeling the power in Jia Yubong's body, and seeing the changes in him, Yang Hongwu finally understood. A scheme, he had really been set up. "I didn't lie to you. There really is a 9-colored soul lotus here. Lord, don't you think so?" he said with a smile on his face. It was as if everything was under his control. Yang Hongwu smiled bitterly in his heart. He looked at him and said, "That's right. There is indeed a 9-colored soul lotus. You didn't lie to me. However, I didn't expect you to be the 9-colored soul lotus. You can call me Hun Tian," he said. "Hun Tian, you're the first person to plot against me like this." Yang Hongwu looked at him and said, "You did everything you could to lure me here. Why? I don't understand. What do I have that you want?" Hun Tian's strength made Yang Hongwu feel a strand of pressure. This space was extremely advantageous for Hun Tian. It could be said that this was his natal space, the source world. Yang Hongwu didn't have any advantage at all. After all, his opponent was a 9-colored soul lotus. His innate ability was extremely terrifying. With his powerful soul power, he could completely suppress Hun Tian. "We can work together. I want to leave this place," Hun Tian said. "You're the first person to know that my true form is a 9-colored soul lotus. I'm trapped in this self-defense divine palace. I can't leave and I don't dare to expose myself. After all, The master of the self-defense divine palace is too terrifying. If I were to expose myself, I would be controlled by the master of the self-defense divine palace and become his slave. I might even be devoured by him and turn into nothingness. I don't want to be a slave, and I don't want to die. As for you, you're the most terrifying and powerful person I've ever seen. You have an ancient and powerful strength in your body. That's what I value. Is that so? Yang Hongwu looked at Hun Tian and said, "Aren't you worried that I'll tell everyone about this after we leave?" Yang Hongwu didn't believe Hun Tian's words. What a joke. How could such a huge secret be revealed so easily? Especially Hun Tian. If this secret was leaked out, it would be troublesome. What awaited him would be endless troubles. It was even more terrifying than being trapped here. I'm naturally afraid of this. Hun Tian nodded and said, "That's why I let you in here. You want to use a secret technique to restrict me?" Yang Hongwu squinted his eyes and said, "You can say that. You and I will form a contract. At that time, we'll be on the same side. Hence, there's no need to worry." Hun Tian said, "Contract? Do you want to become my battle pet?" Yang Hongwu laughed coldly when he heard that. He looked at Hun Tian and said, "This guy's words could not be trusted. Anyone who had reached this level of cultivation was extremely cunning. Moreover, this guy had tried every possible means to scheme against him. Why would he be willing to become his battle pet? What a joke!" If that was the case, Yang Hongwu wouldn't mind. "Become your battle pet?" Hun Tian laughed and said with disdain, "You're not qualified. Although you have great strength and luck, you're far from enough to make me your war pet. Even the master of the Divine Hall of Self-Defense isn't qualified. I'm the one who said it. Yes, you'll become my servant. Hand over your soul and let me plant a soul seed." Chapter 1754. With a thought from Hun Tian, chains appeared in the entire space. These chains instantly bound Yang Hongwu and the other two. "Damn it, you bastard! Big Brother Yang has saved your life. Is this how you repay kindness with enmity?" Pang Liren shouted. "If you dare to harm us, you will die a horrible death." That's right. This is the Self-Defense Divine Palace. The master of the Self-Defense Divine Palace is extremely powerful. A peerless genius like Big Brother Yang will naturally attract the attention of the master of the Self-Defense Divine Palace. I'm afraid that the master of the Self-Defense Divine Palace has already found out about your existence. Your death is imminent," Pang Lijuan said as she looked at Hun Tian with a cold expression. Hun Tian's body trembled upon hearing this. It wasn't impossible. If that was the case, they would be in big trouble. Yang Hongwu was the most monstrous genius that he had ever seen. Moreover, his body contained an enormous amount of energy. Even Hun Tian was afraid of this energy. If it was unleashed, he would be in big trouble. He might not be able to withstand it. To the master of the Self-Defense Divine Palace, this was his divine palace. If the master of the Self-Defense Divine Palace really cared about Yang Hongwu, he would definitely leave a strand of his consciousness on Yang Hongwu. With the master's strength, this strand of consciousness was enough for him to come here. Humph, so what? Although Hun Tian was terrified, he still said, "This is my territory. In this space, even the master of the Self-Defense Divine Palace is no match for me. Therefore, it's impossible for you to escape. Give up. Yang Hongwu. Wu, if you submit to me, I can spare your lives. If you don't agree, today will be the day you die. I will devour your soul and leave this place." Is that so? Yang Hongwu smiled upon hearing this. He looked at Hun Tian and said, "Do you think that's all I have? If that's all I have, why would I be so impulsive and follow you here? You underestimate me." As he said that, Yang Hongwu activated the devouring furnace with a single thought. The vast devouring power formed a vortex that looked like a black hole. It began to devour the surrounding soul energy. Yang Hongwu continued to devour the soul energy. Yang Hongwu's soul energy and cultivation base were also being devoured. As he continued to devour the power of souls, his strength increased. Under Yang Hongwu's frenzied devouring, the chains that trapped Yang Hongwu and the two women disappeared in just a short while. This speed was astonishingly fast. Seeing this scene, Hun Tian's eyes widened. He couldn't believe the reality before his eyes. This was his space. As the owner of this world, he couldn't control it or imprison Yang Hongwu. How could he not be shocked? Could it be because of the mysterious power in Yang Hongwu's body? At the thought of this, Hun Tian's face turned ugly. If Yang Hongwu were to escape, he would be done for. This kid had already completed the test. He could leave the Divine Hall anytime. Once he left, his information would be exposed. By then, he would be in big trouble. This was something that he couldn't accept at all. You guys are forcing me. Hun Tian looked at Yang Hongwu. His eyes were filled with murderous intent. With a single thought, the entire space turned into an ocean. The ocean was filled with raging storms that attacked Yang Hongwu crazily. The three of them looked like they would be destroyed and torn apart at any time in the raging storm. The strength of the two women was so tiny and insignificant in front of this domineering power. It was terrifying. Brother Yang, I can't hold on any longer. The cultivation of the two ladies was too weak, and they could not withstand the impact of the terrifying power. Moreover, there was also the pressure of Hun Tian. Under the suppression of the two forces, the two ladies had already reached their limit by enduring until now. Yang Hongwu frowned. This was troublesome. He couldn't open up his inner world. His inner world was still in the process of merging. In addition, he was in Hun Tian's space. His laws were restricted. It would take a lot of effort to open up his inner world. The price was that once he opened up his inner world, he might be attacked by Hun Tian's power. By then, his inner world might be destroyed. Yang Hongwu wouldn't do that. At this moment, the two women were at their limit. If he didn't protect them, they would be killed by Hun Tian. Brother Yang, don't worry about us. Leave this place quickly. Pang Lijuan shouted. After you leave, you must avenge me. Don't worry. Don't move. Yang Hongwu summoned the Heavenly Palace of Extermination with a thought. The Heavenly Palace of Extermination protected the two women. It's impossible to protect them. I can't deal with you. However, it's not a problem to deal with them. Hun Tian sneered. Yang Hongwu's body was protected by a powerful force. However, these two women did not have such a protective force. Moreover, Hun Tian was not a match for them. Moreover, Hun Tian could tell that the two women were very important to Yang Hongwu. In this way, the two women became the breakthrough point. Hun Tian attacked the two women crazily. He didn't care about Yang Hongwu anymore. Yang Hongwu's face fell in the face of such an attack. He said coldly, "Do you think that you can deal with me like this?" At this moment, Yang Hongwu unleashed the devouring furnace to the extreme. It devoured the spiritual energy in this space crazily. Yang Hongwu's spiritual energy was increasing rapidly. In fact, the spiritual energy was the origin of the nine-colored soul lotus. The more Yang Hongwu devoured the spiritual energy, the lesser the origin of the nine-colored soul lotus. As a result, Hun Tian's strength would decrease. Once Hun Tian reached a certain level, the nine-colored soul lotus could be killed easily. Yang Hongwu had already calculated this. Moreover, Yang Hongwu didn't only have this trump card. Go ahead and devour. Haha. My energy is endless. You can't devour my energy. What you devoured just now was just a drop in the ocean. You won't be able to devour my origin in your entire life. Hun Tian seemed to have seen through Yang Hongwu's intention. He said loudly, I only need a quarter of an hour to break through the defense of this treasure of yours, devour those two women, and kill them. Chapter 1755. When this array formation appeared, it actually suppressed Solski's power. In fact, he even felt fear. The entire world seemed to have escaped from his control. How could Hun Tian not feel fear? Damn it! Damn brat! How could he have planned this so early? Hun Tian roared. He could not believe how Yang Hongwu had set up the formation. How could he break through his spatial barrier and enter his space? If he was in his space, it was because of his laws. He did not have the time to set up the formation. Therefore, this formation was obviously not set up after he entered the formation. Incarnation. Suddenly, Hun Tian thought of something. It was Yang Hongwu's incarnation. Didn't he use the same move against Wang Sheng and the other two? It must be an incarnation. When Yang Hongwu entered the space, he had left an incarnation outside. His original body and incarnation communicated with each other. Therefore, he was able to use a powerful formation to break through his space. I never thought that I had underestimated you. Hun Tian looked at Yang Hongwu and said coldly, "You actually left an incarnation outside. However, even if you left an incarnation behind, your cultivation realm is still too weak. This is my space. My will is the ruler of this place. In this place, I am the ruler. This is the great Tao. I am invincible." Seal. Following Hun Tian's roar, he mobilized a powerful force. With his overbearing will, he wanted to seal the space and cut off the connection between the formation and this space. Yang Hongwu sneered. If it was so simple, why would he need to set up the formation? The formation had been activated and the space had been broken. How could he allow Hun Tian to seal the space again? After all, Yang Hongwu had to pay a hefty price to activate the formation and tear the space apart. It would not be easy for him to tear the space apart again. At this moment, a ray of light appeared between Yang Hongwu's eyebrows. It was the Dharma Eye of Annihilation. As soon as the Dharma Eye of Annihilation appeared, it emitted a terrifying divine light. This divine light was the legendary world annihilation divine light. Wherever the apocalyptic divine light went, everything crumbled. No matter what world or space it was, as long as the opponent's strength did not exceed the limit of the Dharma Eye of Annihilation, and as long as Yang Hongwu had enough psychic power and soul power, there was no need to worry. Damn it, it's the Dharma Eye of Annihilation? At this moment, Hun Tian opened his eyes wide. He could not believe everything that was happening right now. Just where in the world did this fella come from? Not only did he possess such a tremendous amount of power within his body, he even had a powerful protective treasure and the red karmic fire lotus. Dharma Eye of Annihilation. For those who possessed the Dharma Eye of Annihilation, taking it into their inner worlds was their biggest mistake. At this moment, Hun Tian was caught in a trap of his own making. If he did not take Yang Hongwu into this space, Yang Hongwu would have to pay a great price to deal with him. However, taking Yang Hongwu into this special space was a fatal flaw for him. The appearance of the Dharma Eye of Annihilation made Hun Tian panic. If it was just a formation before, Hun Tian was confident that he could deal with Yang Hongwu. However, with the appearance of the Dharma Eye of Annihilation, it was impossible to trap Yang Hongwu in this space. Moreover, he could also use the power of the Dharma Eye of Annihilation to devour his soul power. Even if he could not devour enough soul power, he could still destroy his own space. In this way, Hun Tian would be severely injured. At that time, the space would not be able to be maintained, and the Master of the Divine Palace would definitely find out about it. At that time, the Master of the Divine Palace would definitely take action. He would definitely not be able to escape. Once the secret that he had hidden for so many years was exposed, it would not be a good thing for him. It would be a fatal blow. Yang Hongwu, you win this time. I will send you out. Hun Tian admitted defeat and said to Yang Hongwu, "You want to beg for mercy now?" Yang Hongwu sneered and said, "It's too late. I will not give up at this time. Moreover, you are my enemy. Will you let me go after I know your great secret? Do you think I will believe you?" Kid, don't push your luck. Hun Tian snorted and said loudly, if you did not possess the Dharma Eye of Annihilation and I was worried that the Master of the Divine Palace would discover my real body, would I compromise with you so easily? Your strength is indeed not bad, your talent is amazing, and your means are endless. However, your cultivation realm is still too weak. You are only a divine monarch, not even a divine emperor. Although my strength is suppressed, I am still an expert of the emperor realm. If I want to kill you, you will not be able to escape. Do you know that? You can try. Yang Hongwu sneered. Yang Hongwu did not care about Hun Tian's threat at all. At this moment, he had the upper hand. He was in Hun Tian's space. Relying on the Dharma Eye of Annihilation, he could threaten Hun Tian. He could even destroy Hun Tian completely. Annihilating them was something that could be done, but it would take some time and effort. If I cower, I am not a man. Yang Hongwu's words made Hun Tian tremble with anger. He was forcing him. Kid, you are too arrogant. Hun Tian looked at Yang Hongwu coldly and said, Arrogant? Yang Hongwu smiled faintly. I have never been arrogant. What I said is the truth. Who do you think you are? When you think you have the upper hand, you are extremely overbearing and arrogant. However, when you are in a disadvantageous position, you want others to compromise with you. That's simply a joke. That's impossible. My principle is that if anyone dares to attack me or scheme against me, I'll beat them to death. I'll beat them to death completely. That was the case with the 3 reincarnation brothers. Now, you won't be an exception. After saying that, Yang Hongwu's power became even stronger and more terrifying. The entire space shook. The Dharma Eye of Annihilation swept across, destroying everything in its path. The soul power was absorbed by Yang Hongwu with the devouring furnace. At the same time, Yang Hongwu's cultivation base was also increasing. His strength was increasing continuously as he devoured the soul power. Damn it! At this moment, Hun Tian hated Yang Hongwu to the bone. He wished that he could pull out Yang Hongwu's tendons and skin him alive. He wished that he could cut Yang Hongwu into 1,000 pieces and even eat him alive. Chapter 1756. Yang Hongwu, don't force me. Otherwise, even if I'm severely injured and exposed, I'll kill you here. Hun Tian looked at Yang Hongwu and roared. You want to kill me? Dream on. Wang Sheng and the other 2 said the same thing. However, you should know what happened to them. Therefore, threats are useless to me. If you've got the guts, use your actions to tell me. Yang Hongwu sneered. Hun Tian was trembling in anger. This fella had made it clear that he was going to fight to the death with him. Hun Tian wasn't giving him a way out. Damn it. Do you really think that I can't do anything to you? Hun Tian snorted coldly. The soul energy in the entire space started to boil. In the space that he was in, terrifying waves appeared. The entire space started to tremble. It was as if the mountains were collapsing and the earth was cracking. Hun Tian was going to self-destruct the space. He was going to perish together with Yang Hongwu. To Hun Tian, he was a 9-colored soul lotus. Even though self-destructing the space would cause him to be severely injured, his cultivation realm would drop and his origin would be damaged. However, it was still better than being refined by Yang Hongwu. Right now, he had no other way to deal with Yang Hongwu. Therefore, he had to resort to such a method. At this moment, the faces of the 2 girls changed drastically. Looking at the terrifying energy that was sweeping towards Yang Hongwu, they were helpless. They couldn't help Yang Hongwu at all. They were extremely anxious. However, Yang Hongwu was still extremely calm. Hun Tian, you've underestimated me. You're even weaker than Wang Sheng and Ming Mia. They know my strength. Therefore, they won't put up a meaningless struggle. Yang Hongwu snorted coldly. With a wave of his hand, a domineering energy burst out. This was the energy of the formation. The energy of creation gathered together and formed a gigantic seal. This huge seal instantly trapped Hun Tian, imprisoning him. What's this? Hun Tian suddenly lost control of his space. This caused him to lose his composure. Hun Tian, if you were to blow up the space directly, you might really injure me. However, your hesitation has given me a chance. Yang Hongwu smiled faintly. This fellow was still afraid of death. If he didn't care about anything else and self-destructed the space, Yang Hongwu wouldn't have a chance to injure him. However, this fellow was hesitant. At that moment, he gave Yang Hongwu a chance. Yang Hongwu was extremely sharp. When he was arguing with Hun Tian, he immediately used his trump card. It was Jia Yubang. Yang Hongwu was in Jia Yubang's body. However, there was a trace of restriction left behind. The moment Hun Tian split his consciousness, Yang Hongwu activated the restriction. The moment the restriction was activated, it isolated and sealed Hun Tian's true body. If Hun Tian's incarnation, Jia Yubang, had coveted the power of that pill back then, how could he have had a chance? If Jia Yubang didn't consume that pill, Yang Hongwu wouldn't have dared to enter this space so easily. After all, Yang Hongwu knew that this fella couldn't be discovered by reincarnation Mingmia. How could he be so simple? In the beginning, Yang Hongwu suspected that reincarnation Mingmia wasn't dead. The one outside was just an incarnation of reincarnation Mingmia. His true body was in this space. However, Yang Hongwu discovered that the 9-colored soul lotus was in this space and not reincarnation Mingmia. This made Yang Hongwu extremely shocked. However, he wasn't too shocked. No matter what, it was impossible for Hun Tian to plot against Jia Yubang. The moment Jia Yubang consumed the pill, his fate was sealed. I understand now. It's that pill. At this moment, Hun Tian looked at Yang Hongwu and said loudly. He recalled Jia Yubang's memories, the memories of his incarnation. At this moment, his body was trembling. He didn't expect that his incarnation would be schemed against. The moment he was distracted, a burst of power instantly erupted, causing him to lose control of his soul for a short period of time. This made him quite angry. He knew that everything was over. This young man in front of him was too calculative. He was too terrifying. What do you want? Hun Tian looked at Yang Hongwu and said, I can give you anything you want. I can also give up this space and give it to you. Yang Hongwu shook his head and said, This space is already mine. As for you, you will be refined by me and become my strength. I can submit to you and become your battle pet. Hun Tian gave in and looked at Yang Hongwu, just like your red karmic fire lotus. Impossible. At this moment, Huolian appeared. Her enchanting figure appeared beside Yang Hongwu. She looked at Hun Tian and said coldly, Brother, this fella is up to no good. He wants to devour my origin. Yang Hongwu was stunned when he saw that Huolian had awakened. Previously, Huolian had fallen into a deep slumber due to the increase in her strength. Yang Hongwu did not expect that she would awaken at this moment. Moreover, Huolian's strength had improved tremendously. If you devour his soul lotus, will you be able to advance to the next level? Will you be able to reach the Imperial Emperor realm? Yang Hongwu asked. Huolian shook her head and said, Brother, his origin is too powerful. I can't refine it at all. I can only refine a small part of it. However, it's enough for me to reach the Divine Emperor realm. Yang Hongwu was overjoyed when he heard this and said, Great. If that's the case, then refine his origin and increase your cultivation. No, you can't do that. The 9-colored soul lotus quickly shouted when he heard this. He could feel that Yang Hongwu was starting to refine his origin energy. At this moment, he was sealed and couldn't move at all. He couldn't even use his own origin energy. He could only watch Yang Hongwu devour and refine his origin energy. How could he not be afraid? Hun Tian, it's useless. You're dead. Yang Hongwu smiled faintly. Towards Hun Tian, Yang Hongwu did not have any good impression of him. His power burst forth as the devouring furnace was pushed to its limits. It devoured the power of Hun Tian furiously before transferring it to the fire lotus. That was the origin energy of the soul lotus. When Huo Yen was refining the origin energy, it turned into a rank 20 red karmic fire lotus and swayed continuously. Chapter 1757. No, you can't do that! Hun Tian shouted. His voice was filled with terror. He didn't want to die. At this moment, he didn't have any other choice. He could only watch as Yang Hongwu devoured his energy and transferred it to the fire lotus. His energy was disappearing bit by bit. He was about to die completely. He was about to disappear from the great thousand cosmos. The fear of death and the shadow of destruction had completely shrouded him. Why not? Yang Hongwu said coldly. Aren't you arrogant? Aren't you domineering? You want to scheme against me? You're dreaming. I've said before that anyone who dares to scheme against me will not have a good ending. You'll be the same. I was wrong. I was wrong. Young Master Lord, I was wrong. I was really wrong. Don't kill me. Don't kill me. I'm willing to be your servant, your loyal dog. I'm willing to do anything for you. As long as you don't kill me, I can give you anything. I have countless treasures in the great thousand cosmos. These treasures are enough to raise your cultivation by a few levels, allowing you to reach the level of an emperor. As long as you're willing to let me go, everything is yours. Hun Tian screamed. At this moment, he realized that he was about to die. He was terrified. He begged for mercy, wanting to live. However, Yang Hongwu wasn't willing to give him such a chance. What a joke! Letting him go was no different from letting a tiger return to the mountains. Moreover, he had the 9-colored soul lotus. A 9-colored soul lotus was much more precious than those so-called treasures. Killing him and devouring his energy would allow Lin Fan's cultivation base and soul to improve by leaps and bounds. Moreover, after killing him, Lin Fan could obtain the lotus seed of the 9-colored soul lotus. Under certain conditions, this lotus seed could also nurture another 9-colored soul lotus. A 9-colored soul lotus that truly belonged to Lin Fan. Therefore, no matter what, Yang Hongwu wouldn't agree to let Hun Tian go. Seeing that Yang Hongwu wasn't moved by his pleading, Hun Tian was filled with hatred. He glared at Yang Hongwu and cursed continuously. The terrifying power of the curse burned and turned into strands of terrifying power that entangled Yang Hongwu's soul. This was Solski's final curse. He had used his life as the price to release this curse. He wanted to make Yang Hongwu pay the price. The 9-colored soul lotus had an extremely powerful soul force. Under such circumstances, the curse that was released at the cost of one's life was no small matter. If it was an ordinary person, they wouldn't be able to resist such a curse. However, to Yang Hongwu this was nothing. Such a curse was something Yang Hongwu could easily dispel. Without mentioning anything else, Yang Hongwu had cultivated the power of curses. He had even encountered the origin of the curse of all evil. That was a truly terrifying curse. Although at that time, Yang Hongwu's strength had been very weak. However, he had encountered the origin of the curse of all evil before. In addition, Yang Hongwu had the red karmic fire lotus. The karmic fire lotus that was released could burn and refine all curses. No matter how terrifying the curse was, it was only a little troublesome for Yang Hongwu. He could dispel it by spending some time and energy. As such, the curse that Solsky released at the cost of his life did not have much effect on Yang Hongwu. At this moment, the red karmic fire lotus was refining the power that Yang Hongwu transferred to her. Her strength and cultivation were increasing continuously. As for Solsky, he was cursing Yang Hongwu crazily. His soul force was dissipating and his life force was disappearing. You'll die a horrible death. Little bastard, you'll die a horrible death. Do you think that you'll have a good life after killing me? No, you've underestimated this place. He won't let you go. At the last moment before Solski's consciousness dissipated, he shouted loudly. These words gave Yang Hongwu a sense of crisis. Things weren't over yet. There seemed to be something hidden in this world. Yang Hongwu discovered that Hun Tian's consciousness had already dissipated. His origin imprint had also been completely refined. However, this world actually didn't collapse and wasn't completely devoured. Clearly, this was the reason why Hun Tian was still alive. Obviously, there seemed to be some secrets hidden in this world. There was someone else. Yang Hongwu thought. Could it be that Solski had other accomplices? If that was the case, it would be troublesome. One should know that he had used his Dharma Eye of Annihilation to check this place. In this space, there was no other consciousness other than Hun Tian. However, even though Hun Tian was dead, there was no change in this space. It did not dissipate. It was still under his control. This meant that there was still an owner of this world. Obviously, the owner was not him. If this world was under Solski's control, he would be able to control a part of this world after destroying Solski's consciousness and refining his origin mark. However, the problem now was that Yang Hongwu had not become the owner of this world. However, Yang Hongwu did not have much time at this moment. He could not care about other things because the red karmic fire lotus had reached its limit. It was already at the peak of the 23rd grade red karmic fire lotus. It was only a step away from the 24th grade red karmic fire lotus. This world became oppressive. Tribulation clouds formed in the sky. This was a test for the red karmic fire lotus. As long as the red karmic fire lotus could pass this test, the red karmic fire lotus could break the shackles and become a 24th grade red karmic fire lotus. However, if it failed, it would be troublesome. Once it failed, the red karmic fire lotus would be seriously injured and its origin mark would be damaged. At that time, the red karmic fire lotus would not be able to advance to the 24th grade red karmic fire lotus. It might even be destroyed directly. The best result would be that the red karmic fire lotus cultivation would drop to the 12th grade. Therefore, this was a great test for the red karmic fire lotus. Brother, I am going to undergo the tribulation. Please protect me. The red karmic fire lotus transmitted a wisp of consciousness to Yang Hongwu. Don't worry. With me around, the thunder tribulation is not a problem. Yang Hongwu looked at the tribulation clouds in the sky. The power of the thunder tribulation was terrifying. However, Yang Hongwu was not worried. Chapter 1758. Yang Hongwu was also very depressed. Therefore, he planned to use the power of the heavens tribulation to break through the shackles on his body. He hoped to enter the divine emperor realm. At this moment, a man who was hiding in the dark opened his eyes. I didn't expect that Hun Tian would be killed by someone. What a pity. That man sighed. His luck is soaring. Terrifying. Although his cultivation is not strong, not even a divine emperor, he managed to suppress Hun Tian. No wonder he was valued by him. What Yang Hongwu didn't know was that he was being targeted at this very moment. The enemy was hiding in the dark and would attack him at any time. However, it was not a problem for Yang Hongwu. Even if he knew about it, he would not care about it. For him, the most important thing now was to help Huolian pass the heavens tribulation. He wanted to use the power of the heavens tribulation to break through the bottleneck of his cultivation realm. Be careful. The first heavens tribulation is coming. You have to bear the first 3 heavens tribulation by yourself. Yang Hongwu said, this will be a great help to you. If you can't bear the heavens tribulation, I will help you. Huolian knew clearly that it was impossible for her to bear the heavens tribulation by herself. Looking at the power of the heavens tribulation, it was impossible for her to bear it with her own strength. Only death would await her. However, it would be different with Yang Hongwu's help, because Yang Hongwu could devour and refine the heavens tribulation. The heavens tribulation was just a piece of cake for him. It was a supplement for Yang Hongwu's cultivation. It could help him improve his cultivation realm constantly. Boom! A heavens tribulation fell with a clap of thunder. The first heavens tribulation was extremely powerful and terrifying. It was filled with destructive qi. The heavens tribulation fell and bombarded Huolien's body. The swaying Huolien's body was constantly swaying. Electric arcs emerged from the heavens tribulation and lit up the entire space. The thunder tribulation of the fire lotus did not use any other treasures to resist it, nor did he use his dharma power to protect his body. He was actually like Yang Hongwu before, relying on his physical body to resist this thunder tribulation. This made Yang Hongwu frown slightly. He was worried. After all, Huolien was not like him. She cultivated the body divine ability. She possessed a strong body that could resist the heavens tribulation easily. She could even use the power of the heavens tribulation to temper her body. It was very dangerous for her to resist the heavens tribulation to temper her body heavens tribulation. However, he was by her side. If it wasn't for his protection, such an action was simply courting death. Even though she could easily withstand the lightning tribulation, in reality, the power of the lightning tribulation would cause hidden injuries to the fire lotus when it struck her body. Once these hidden injuries accumulated, it would cause hidden injuries. If the tribulation's tribulation were to erupt to a certain extent, it would be terrifying. However, Yang Hongwu knew that there was a reason why Huolien did this. After all, Huolien had devoured too much energy. This was the origin energy of Hun Tian's soul lotus. Although she had devoured and refined this origin energy, it wasn't complete enough and didn't merge with her own origin energy. She wanted to use the power of the heavens tribulation to perfectly merge her origin energy with the soul lotus's origin energy. However, it was too risky to do so. If she was not careful, she would be consigned to eternal damnation. Once her origin energy was damaged, it would not be a small problem. The heavens tribulation passed one after another. The powerful heavens tribulation shattered the surroundings. Pieces of gravel flew everywhere. However, it did not affect Yang Hongwu and Huolien at all. After the third heavens tribulation, Huolien's strength had increased tremendously. Under the tempering of the heavens tribulation, Huolien's aura became more stable. After the third heavens tribulation, Huolien gradually felt powerless. Yang Hongwu also noticed it. In a flash, he appeared above Huolien. He used his body to withstand the heavens tribulation's tribulation. The heavens tribulation bombarded Yang Hongwu's body. It seemed like the great Tao had discovered that Yang Hongwu was helping Huolien to withstand the heavens tribulation. The heavens tribulation cloud in the sky was rolling. The aura became even more terrifying. Yang Hongwu took a deep breath. Yang Hongwu had expected this. So what if the heavens tribulation was powerful? Yang Hongwu's lips curled into a smile. He was not worried at all. As the thunder calamity descended, it bombarded Yang Hongwu's body. It was as though it was just a tickle. Yang Hongwu did not budge at all, allowing the power of the thunder calamity to strike his body. Yang Hongwu's physical body had reached an unimaginable level. Ordinary lightning tribulations had no effect on his physical body. After all, Yang Hongwu's physical body had a powerful devouring power. This was the fusion of the devouring real body and the immortal dragon body. When the power of the lightning landed on his body, it was already devoured and refined. There was no need for him to circulate his qi, nor did he need to activate his dharma powers or dharma treasures to resist. What a surprise! I didn't expect him to be able to devour the power of lightning. Even heavenly tribulation can't do anything to him. He really is worthy of being the king of karmic luck. The hidden person couldn't help sighing as he watched Yang Hongwu resist the tribulation lightning. He had to admit that Yang Hongwu was really terrifying. If he was allowed to grow up, he would become a terrifying expert. In the Great Thousand Universe, there were only a handful of people who could match up to him in terms of strength. Such a person had outstanding talent and amazing luck. However, it wouldn't be easy for him to grow up. Such a peerless genius would usually be targeted by others. After all, for any expert, they couldn't tolerate the growth of a genius who was more terrifying than them. Therefore, even though Yang Hongwu's luck was soaring to the sky, it was also accompanied by countless setbacks and bumps. On his path of growth, he would definitely face countless trials. If he could overcome these tests and tribulations, he would soar to the sky. However, if he couldn't overcome them, he would die completely and vanish into thin air. Hiding in the dark and watching Yang Hongwu, he didn't dare to attack Yang Hongwu. Before he had absolute confidence, he wasn't willing to expose himself. Although he was stronger than Hun Tian, he didn't dare to attack recklessly. Once he did, he would be completely exposed. If he could kill Yang Hongwu and seize his luck, it would be worth it even if he had to expose himself. However, what if he didn't succeed? Chapter 1759. The rest of the lightning fell one after another, bombarding Yang Hongwu's body. Yang Hongwu swallowed and refined these lightning tribulations. These lightning tribulations posed no threat to Yang Hongwu at all. After all, he had refined the lightning tribulations of the Great Path and obtained the source of the lightning tribulations, even though he had only comprehended a trace of it. However, as his cultivation increased, the power of the lightning tribulations of the Great Path could no longer cause much harm to Yang Hongwu. Instead, it would constantly temper his physical body. After several lightning tribulations, the tribulation clouds in the sky calmed down, but the whole atmosphere became more oppressive. Yang Hongwu frowned. He had a bad feeling. This lightning tribulation did not seem to be so simple. As expected, a void crack appeared in the sky, and a terrible weapon appeared in this void crack. It was the Spear of Thunder. This was not the first time Yang Hongwu had seen this Spear of Thunder. When he was undergoing the tribulation before, he had encountered a Spear of Thunder. The people who were hiding in the dark were also shocked when they saw this scene. The Spear of Thunder. This kid is courting death. He actually attracted the Spear of Thunder. He narrowed his eyes. This Spear of Thunder is not something that ordinary people can resist. This is an opportunity. If this kid fails to pass the tribulation, there will be a chance to refine the source in this kid's body. If we take away his fate, a mere master of the Divine Hall of War will be nothing to worry about. However, Yang Hongwu did not know any of this. He looked at the Spear of Thunder in the sky, which had locked onto him. The terrible aura was full of destructive aura. This was the power of the law of thunder that could destroy everything. This was no joke. The power of the law of the Great Path was quite terrible. The reason why Yang Hongwu could easily resist the power of the lightning tribulations was that Yang Hongwu had comprehended a trace of the law of thunder. Although it was only a trace, it could easily resist the impact of the lightning tribulations. Coupled with the strength of the devouring real body and the immortal dragon body, the mere power of the lightning tribulations was not enough to harm him. Instead, it would bring him great benefits. These lightning tribulations were like elixirs that could improve his cultivation. However, the Spear of Thunder was different. This Spear of Thunder was nurtured by the supreme law of thunder. The real body of the Spear of Thunder was a terrifying existence. It could even be said that it was one of the most terrifying and powerful weapons in the Great Thousand Universe. It belonged to the supreme existence. However, Yang Hongwu's cultivation was far from that realm. If this was the real body of the Thunder Spear, Yang Hongwu wouldn't hesitate and would immediately escape. However, that was not the Lightning Spear's true body. It was merely a clone. Therefore, Yang Hongwu could still resist it. If he could refine the Thunder Spear's incarnation, his cultivation level would rise to another level. He would definitely be able to break through the bottleneck and reach the peak of the half-step Divine Emperor realm, even if he could not break through to the Divine Emperor realm. There was no problem. However, it would not be easy to refine this spear of thunder. Yang Hongwu realized that the power contained in this spear of thunder gave him a great pressure. If he took this spear of thunder head-on, he would be able to handle it. However, he would also be injured. Yang Hongwu would not be worried if it was under normal circumstances. However, in the current situation, Yang Hongwu had to be worried. This was because there was a pair of eyes hidden in the dark in this space. This pair of eyes was staring at him. If he made a mistake, he would be attacked by that person. After experiencing reincarnation and soul sky, Yang Hongwu knew that he was sealed and imprisoned in the Divine Hall. He was an expert who was reduced to a checkpoint. He would try his best to leave this place. Moreover, he did not want to be discovered by the owner of the Divine Hall. Therefore, they needed an opportunity, and he seemed to have become an opportunity for them to escape the shackles of this space. This made Yang Hongwu very depressed. If he passed this level of the test, there would be countless people eyeing him in the later stages of the test. However, this was not a problem he should be thinking about now. Right now, the most important thing was how to withstand the spear of thunder with the least loss. This was the key. In the depths of the void, a few pairs of eyes were staring at Yang Hongwu. One of them was a tall figure. There was a mark between his eyebrows. This mark looked like the spear of thunder. That person said, "This kid is not bad. He is regarded so highly by that person. If he can pass the test of this incarnation of mine, I can give him some benefit. However, this incarnation of mine is not weak. Even an ordinary emperor's lightning tribulation would not be able to withstand it. That's all. This brat's body contains a terrifying power. Although your incarnation is equivalent to an ordinary imperial lord's thunder tribulation, it can't cause any harm to this brat. Instead, it's equivalent to giving him energy," another person said. "Don't be happy too early. There is still a guy hiding in the dark in that space. If that guy launches a sneak attack while he is resisting the spear of thunder, this kid will not be able to withstand it. Let's wait and see." The few of them stopped talking. Of course, Yang Hongwu was unaware of all this. At this moment, the spear of thunder had already pierced through the space and was heading towards Yang Hongwu. The spear of thunder seemed to be very slow, but the pressure it gave Yang Hongwu was very, very terrifying. The spear of thunder had locked onto his aura and soul. No matter where he went, he would not be able to escape from the attack of the spear of thunder. This was the most terrifying thing. Even if Yang Hongwu pierced through the void and entered another space, he would not be able to escape from the attack of the spear of thunder. This was the most terrifying lightning tribulation. Damn it! Yang Hongwu snorted coldly. It seems to be targeting me. No matter how heaven-defying the red lotus of fire was, it was impossible for it to encounter such a terrifying lightning tribulation when breaking through to level 24. If it was not targeting him, Yang Hongwu would not believe it. Chapter 1760. So what if you're targeting me? So what if it's the lightning spear? It's just a mere clone. Do you think that you can deal with me? What a joke. Yang Hongwu snorted coldly. He extended his hand and grabbed at the clone of the lightning spear. The lightning spear that contained a domineering force was caught by Yang Hongwu instantly. However, the lightning spear was an unparalleled divine item after all. Even though it was just a clone, it was still extremely domineering. Even though Yang Hongwu had caught the clone of the lightning spear, the domineering force slammed onto Yang Hongwu's body instantly. With that, Yang Hongwu was sent flying. When he flew out, he slammed onto the ground heavily. A huge crater was created on the solid ground. Even the space was shattered. A crack appeared in the void. This time, it caused terrible damage to this part of the space. The person who was hiding in the dark had a slight change in his expression. After this world had lost the consciousness of Hun Tian, he was the owner of this world. If this space was damaged, it would naturally cause him some harm. Domineering indeed. That person frowned slightly. Secretly, he mobilized the origin energy of this world to repair the damaged area. After Yang Hongwu was struck by the lightning spear, he was injured. The lightning spear that he had grabbed initially flew away as well. The lightning spear floated in the air leisurely, devouring the energy of the void continuously as it prepared for its next attack. Yang Hongwu's expression changed slightly. This time around, the power of the lightning spear was much stronger than the previous ones he had seen. A single strike had caused him to be injured. If it wasn't for his strong physical body, that strike would have caused him to be severely injured. Today, I'm going to refine you. Yang Hongwu snorted coldly. He mobilized all the powers in his body, and the devouring furnace was activated to its maximum. This time, Yang Hongwu mobilized the power of the array formation. Yang Hongwu used this powerful force to condense a large hand. This large hand grabbed towards the lightning spear. As for the lightning spear, it seemed to have sensed Yang Hongwu's thoughts and began to spin. In the next instant, it shot towards Yang Hongwu at a frightening speed. It was so fast that it left one speechless. The spear of thunder and the palm condensed by Yang Hongwu's spiritual power collided in an instant. A powerful impact erupted in an instant. The violent fluctuations once again caused devastating damage to the surroundings. At this moment, Yang Hongwu's devouring furnace erupted with astonishing power. A talisman appeared and sealed the thunder spear. The devouring furnace erupted with a powerful devouring force at that moment, swallowing the thunder spear into the furnace. With that, the thunder spear was instantly trapped. Under the powerful devouring power of the devouring furnace, it was being refined continuously. Seeing this scene, the guy hiding in the dark opened his eyes wide. He almost couldn't believe his own eyes. What a guy! He actually managed to imprison the lightning spear. Could it be that this brat wants to refine the power of the lightning spear? Such an idea was simply appalling. No one had ever thought of it like this before. How terrifying was this thought! Refining the power of the thunder calamity was nothing. After all, there were countless geniuses in the heavens and realms. It wasn't that there weren't any people who could devour and refine the power of the thunder calamity. However, no one had ever refined the incarnation of the thunder spear. Devouring and refining the power of the thunder calamity was possible. However, devouring and refining the power of the thunder spear was tantamount to going against the thunder spear itself. The thunder spear represented the supreme law of the thunder calamity of the Great Path. It was the true ruler of the thunder calamity of the Great Path. Daring to devour and refine the incarnation of the thunder calamity of the Great Path was tantamount to provoking the ruler of the thunder calamity of the Great Path. That would lead to terrible consequences, unless one's strength had reached a very high level, to the point where one could move unhindered in the heavens and realms. Obviously, Yang Hongwu's cultivation level was still too low. He was far from reaching that level. He was not even a divine emperor. He had not even reached the emperor realm. If he wanted to move unhindered in the heavens and realms, he would have to reach the peak of the emperor realm. His cultivation level was far from enough. He had to at least surpass the emperor realm. He originally thought that after Yang Hongwu had suppressed the incarnation of the thunder calamity of the Great Path, the thunder calamity of the Great Path would become even more terrifying. However, he was disappointed. After the thunder spear was suppressed, the thunder calamity dissipated. The thunder spear had been successfully refined by Yang Hongwu. His cultivation level had also broken through because of it. His chi was increasing crazily. Half-step divine emperor realm. At this moment, Yang Hongwu had reached the peak of the half-step divine emperor realm. He was only one step away from breaking through to the Divine Emperor realm. However, after Yang Hongwu's cultivation level had reached the peak of the half-step Divine Emperor realm, he could not break through the shackles. He could not break through the bottleneck and increase his cultivation level. This made Yang Hongwu feel very helpless. Is it because the Thunder Spear had injured a wisp of my origin? Yang Hongwu frowned. Something was not right. Although he had injured a wisp of his origin during the previous attack, after devouring the Thunder Spear, it had recovered completely. However, after reaching the limit of the half-step Divine Emperor realm, he could not break through. Yang Hongwu did not lack energy at the moment. The soul power of this world and the energy contained in the Thunder Spear were enough for him to break through. Yang Hongwu was not short of energy at the moment. He was not short of energy at all. The soul power of this world and the energy contained in the Thunder Spear were enough for him to break through. Yang Hongwu was very clear about this. However, he could not break through. Yang Hongwu could not understand this. At this moment, the person hiding in the dark finally took action. After seeing that Yang Hongwu was distracted, he immediately launched an attack. A terrifying aura enveloped Yang Hongwu in a flash. The whole world turned into a terrifying cage. A talisman appeared in this cage. This talisman contained a terrifying murderous aura, enough to destroy the world. Coupled with the suppression of the spatial laws, Yang Hongwu was caught off guard. Yang Hongwu did not have time to react and was suppressed. It's you. At the moment when he was suppressed and injured, Yang Hongwu saw the person who had attacked him. This guy was not someone else, he was unexpectedly Zizai. Yang Hongwu originally guessed that the person hiding in the dark might be Mingmia. However, he had never thought that this person would be Zizai. Yes, it's me. You didn't expect this, right? Zizai looked at Yang Hongwu and smiled. Chapter 1761. This news was truly shocking to Yang Hongwu. He had not expected Wang Xing, Ming Mie and the others to be the reincarnations of this fella. This void's calculations were truly frightening. Splitting one's soul into multiple parts and reincarnating directly. Such a cultivation method was truly horrifying. Yang Hongwu nodded his head. Yang Hongwu had never seen such a guy before. Wasn't he afraid that he would suffer from schizophrenia when he fused with his soul again? What a great Su Kuan! I have a whole new level of respect for you. No one dares to do this. You're the first one I know. Yang Hongwu sighed. No, I'm not the first one to do this. That person is the one I admire. Su Kuan shook his head and said in a humble tone, that senior is the one I look up to. Yang Hongwu was slightly surprised when he heard this. According to logic, Su Kuan's strength should be very strong. It was beyond his imagination. This guy was very terrifying now. Although his strength hadn't surpassed the Emperor's level, he was still a huge threat to Yang Hongwu. His strength was too great. This time, Yang Hongwu had really encountered a tough opponent. This battle was definitely going to be a tough one. If it wasn't for this, Yang Hongwu wouldn't be chatting with Su Kuan. The purpose of doing this was to find this guy's weakness. Since he couldn't defeat him, he could only find his weakness to deal with him. I can feel the aura of that senior on your body. I even suspect that you're one of his reincarnations. Su Kuan looked at Yang Hongwu and said, I am me. Yang Hongwu was slightly stunned when he heard this. He then said, I am not anyone and I will not become anyone. No matter how strong he is, even if it's my previous life, it's just a passing cloud. Even if I recover, it's just a part of my memory. It won't affect me. Although I don't know who you're talking about, it's definitely not me. Although Yang Hongwu said this, he was still very shocked. After all, Yang Hongwu didn't know who he was in his previous life. If he was really the guy that Su Kuan said had countless reincarnations, then it would be really depressing. Haha, there's no point in denying it. Su Kuan laughed and said, Of course, I'm only guessing. However, it doesn't matter anymore. It doesn't matter whether you're a reincarnation of that person or not. Because you're going to die at my hands right now. Your origin, your body. Sukoun laughed. Your body is mine. After I devour your soul, I will use your body to leave this place, to leave the divine palace. You're too naive, Yang Hongwu said coldly. You want to possess me? You're dreaming. No one can do it, not even the master of the divine palace. Sukoun heard this and said, Little guy, you know too little. You're too naive. You don't know how terrifying the master of the divine palace is. That old guy's strength is already at the peak of the great thousand universes. Although he's not as strong as that person, he's definitely not someone you can handle. If he wanted to kill you, he could easily crush you. A finger is enough. However, you're too weak right now and know too little. You don't know how terrifying the master of the divine palace is. However, it doesn't matter anymore. You're going to die soon. Saying this, Sukoun moved. His entire body turned into a shadow and merged with the world. At this moment, Yang Hongwu felt a terrifying power that was about to imprison him. Sukoun was the ruler of this world, and he himself was terrifyingly powerful. Yang Hongwu didn't know what level this guy's strength had reached, but the pressure his soul exerted on Yang Hongwu was indeed terrifying. Suppression, the suppression of the soul. This was the first time Yang Hongwu had encountered a problem. No one had ever been able to suppress him with their soul. This was the first time. In the face of this pressure, Yang Hongwu felt that he had no power to resist. The pressure of the entire space exploded. Yang Hongwu even felt that he had lost his connection with the Destruction Heavenly Palace and the Life Great Seal. Terrifying, too terrifying. This pressure was so terrifying that it could even cut off his connection with the treasure and the inner world. Sukoun's strength was really terrifying. Dharma Eye of Annihilation, come out! Yang Hongwu roared. Feeling that his connection with the Dharma Eye of Annihilation was still there, it instantly erupted and a ray of divine light of annihilation appeared. The appearance of this ray of divine light of annihilation gave Yang Hongwu great confidence. As long as the divine light of annihilation could break the seal of this space, he would have a chance to escape and even find a chance to kill Sukoun. It's useless. At this moment, a voice sounded. It was Sukoun's voice. Your strength is too weak and your realm is too low. Although the Dharma Eye of Annihilation is powerful, it is still an immature Dharma Eye of Annihilation. Its strength is far from enough to break the seal of my world force. It's useless. As soon as his voice fell, Yang Hongwu's whole body shook. His eyes flashed with disbelief. The Dharma Eye of Annihilation was actually beaten back. The divine light of annihilation disappeared. Yang Hongwu smiled bitterly. This time, he was really in big trouble. Sukoun only relied on the power of law to disperse his divine light of annihilation and force the Dharma Eye of Annihilation back into his body. At this moment, his strength was actually imprisoned. He couldn't fight back. He didn't even have the strength to fight back. This was the first time he had encountered such a situation. This time, he really encountered an unprecedented crisis. Was he really going to die here today? Yang Hongwu had never felt so desperate before. In the past, no matter how powerful the crisis was or how terrifying the enemy was, he always had the strength to fight back. But now, Sukoun's strength was really so strong that it made him feel incomparably desperate. In front of Sukoun, Yang Hongwu felt that he was a little baby facing an incomparably powerful giant. There was no comparison at all. How could a newborn baby be compared with an incomparably powerful giant? This was simply impossible. Chapter 1762. Even an expert at Sukoun's level could not suppress the excitement in his heart. Pang Liren and Pang Lijuan were anxious when they saw Yang Hongwu being suppressed. However, they were helpless as they were too weak. They couldn't even break through the Destruction Sky Palace, let alone help Yang Hongwu. At this moment, the two women hated themselves for being too weak. They couldn't help Yang Hongwu when he was in trouble. In the divine realm, two women were in seclusion. They felt a sharp pain in their hearts. One of them was Xian Bing's celestial lady. What's going on? Did something happen to my husband? Damn it. In an ancient palace, a beautiful woman opened her eyes and clutched her chest. At the same time, Yang Hongwu's women all felt their hearts palpitating. They felt an inexplicable stabbing pain. Nothing must happen to you. At this moment, Yang Hongwu was in extreme danger. A domineering force wanted to enter Yang Hongwu's sea of consciousness, occupy his body and devour his origin. Yang Hongwu felt a glimmer of hope. Who dared to enter his sea of consciousness? He was courting death. Yang Hongwu was confident that no one could occupy his sea of consciousness. Haha, kid, do you think that no one can do anything to you after entering your sea of consciousness? At this moment, Su Kuan laughed loudly. Yang Hongwu's expression changed slightly. Did Su Kuan know what he was thinking? Did he have a way to deal with it? You're too naive. If you didn't devour and refine Hun Tian's origin, I might not be able to do anything. However, you shouldn't have devoured and refined Hun Tian's origin. Do you really think that I would give up a part of my origin so easily? Su Kuan said loudly. Su Kuan, I can enter your sea of consciousness without being rejected by your soul origin. Do you know that? Yang Hongwu was shocked. He didn't expect to be tricked. Impossible. Then, Yang Hongwu said coldly, try it. You want to shake my mind? You're dreaming. Wavering my mind? Su Kuan roared with laughter and said, there's no need for that. It's already come to this, so there's no need for me to use such methods against you. Victory is already within my grasp. Kid, you don't have any chance left. Accept your fate. With that, Su Kuan turned into a seven-colored light and instantly entered Yang Hongwu's sea of consciousness. Humph! Yang Hongwu snorted coldly. With a thought, a huge palace was formed in his sea of consciousness. This huge palace was set up with a formation. This formation was set up with the life seal as its core and several other treasures as support. This formation was a powerful formation. This formation was set up with the life seal as its core and several other treasures as support. It was easy to imagine how powerful it was. Yang Hongwu was confident that the formation's power in his sea of consciousness could suppress and kill even a terrifying expert that surpassed the Emperor's level. However, when Su Kuan's will appeared, Yang Hongwu's expression changed. This formation was like an empty shell in front of Su Kuan. It didn't cause any pressure to Su Kuan. What's going on? Yang Hongwu had a bad feeling in his heart. He was in big trouble. His array formation actually didn't have any effect on Su Kuan in his spiritual sea. That was impossible in Yang Hongwu's imagination. However, the reality in front of him shattered his fantasy. Damn it, how is this possible? Yang Hongwu was very depressed. In the past, he was the one who was breaking things that others thought were impossible. Now it was actually his turn. He was confident in his victory and thought that it was impossible, but it happened. He couldn't do anything about it at all. He could only watch helplessly as Su Kuan approached him. Kid, I've said it before. My source energy is present in your sea of consciousness, so your sea of consciousness acknowledges me. As a result, even though your sea of consciousness is powerful and the formations you cast down are so terrifying, they are unable to cause any fatal harm to me. At most, they will only obstruct me slightly, Su Kuan said indifferently. Are you going to admit defeat and give up now, or do you want me to do it for you? If you admit defeat, I can keep a wisp of your consciousness and send you into the cycle of reincarnation. I will give you a chance to start over. However, if you insist on admitting defeat, I won't be merciful. If you don't come to your senses, then don't blame me for being impolite. Of course, the heavens are virtuous. Under the great Tao there is still a trace of life. I will still leave a trace of life for you, leaving a trace of your consciousness to enter the reincarnation cycle. However, I will not leave behind your memories. Yang Hongwu looked coldly at Su Kuan and said, "Dream on. You want me to admit defeat? That's impossible. There is no such thing as admitting defeat in my dictionary." Yang Hongwu looked at Su Kuan, his eyes filled with killing intent. If possible, he would definitely destroy Su Kuan completely, leaving no trace behind. He had always been the one to talk to others like this. He hadn't expected that it would be his turn today. What kind of irony was this? Thinking of this, Yang Hongwu's heart was incomparably depressed and bitter. Was this retribution? No, I can't give up. I can't die. No one can kill me. It's impossible to take over my body. Yang Hongwu's heart went crazy. His eyes flickered with terrifying light. He raised his hands and circulated the 9 heavens divine dragon technique to the extreme. In the void, a massive power of nomological laws appeared. Streaks of terrifying lightning flashed within the nomological laws. Yang Hongwu roared angrily. The power of law formed a terrifying war blade. This war blade seemed to be able to destroy everything. It could cut through anything that stood in its way. Epiphany. It's actually an epiphany. What a surprise. Su Kuan was a little surprised when he saw this scene. However, he didn't show any signs of worry. It was as if everything was under his control. Su Kuan raised his hand gently and condensed a long sword in his hand. Ancient runes condensed on the sword. These runes were ancient laws. They were the supreme laws of the Sword Tao. Sword of the Great Tao, unrivaled. Following Su Kuan's shout, the long sword flew out and landed on Yang Hongwu's warblade. Chapter 1763. The moment the saber essence collapsed, Yang Hongwu was severely injured. This time, he really did not have the strength to fight back. Even though Nini, who was in his inner world, used the divine tree of fate to transmit the chi of fate to him, it could not change anything. The chi of fate was extremely powerful. However, it was just a drop in the bucket for the current Yang Hongwu. It couldn't help Yang Hongwu recover in a short time and make him strong enough to deal with Su Kuan's attack. You can rest in peace now. Don't worry, I'll leave you with a chance to live. I'm a person who never goes overboard. Even if it's my greatest enemy, I'll leave him with a chance to live. Furthermore, I've taken your opportunity this time, so I owe you a huge amount of karma. However, when I attain the Tao in the future, I'll extradite you and repay this karma. With that, Su Kuan stretched out his hand and a powerful suction force enveloped Yang Hongwu, pulling him in front of Su Kuan. At this moment, Yang Hongwu didn't have the strength to fight back at all. This time it was really over. Yang Hongwu closed his eyes. Although he didn't want to be killed like this, he couldn't resist. The enemy was too strong. He was so strong that it made him feel despair. Even his greatest trump card couldn't do anything to Su Kuan. Was this fate? Yang Hongwu felt helpless. No matter how unwilling he was, he could only watch helplessly as Su Kuan devoured his origin source and took over everything he had. At this moment, in various places, Yang Hongwu's women all clutched their chests, feeling a stabbing pain in their hearts. Husband! Oh no, something's happened to husband. Hu Xiu Jing Qiushuang, Yuji and the other women all felt extremely uncomfortable. Their faces were pale. In Yang Hongwu's inner world, Luli also felt that something was wrong. She shouted, "No, Big Brother Yang will definitely be fine." Yes, he'll definitely be fine. Bairan also nodded, but her fingernails dug into her flesh. She didn't even feel the blood flowing out. However, despite their confidence in Yang Hongwu was already on the verge of death. He didn't have the strength to fight back at all. It could be said that he was waiting for death. Die. Su Kuan shouted, and Yang Hongwu lost consciousness. His soul had been devoured by Su Kuan. At this moment, Su Kuan was refining Yang Hongwu's soul origin. At this moment, a terrifying force erupted from Yang Hongwu's body. This force was the mysterious and powerful force sealed within Yang Hongwu's body. This force was so powerful and so overbearing. It erupted the moment Su Kuan was about to devour Yang Hongwu. Up until now, this force had only erupted when Yang Hongwu was in danger. It was only a strand, but this time, the force that erupted was extremely terrifying. It erupted. In an instant, Su Kuan was suppressed. This sudden turn of events caught Su Kuan off guard. He had originally thought that Yang Hongwu was already powerless to fight back, but now, he was stunned. He knew that Yang Hongwu wasn't simple. There was a powerful force in his body. It might be the power of his past life that was sealed in his body. Su Kuan's cultivation had reached such a level, so he naturally knew about it. However, he was extremely confident in himself. He believed that he could completely devour and refine Yang Hongwu's force before it erupted. However, all of this was beyond his expectations. All along, he had been worried. However, when he completely trapped Yang Hongwu and fused a part of his origin into Yang Hongwu's origin, he believed that the powerful force in Yang Hongwu's body would no longer be able to resist. It would no longer repel him. However, all of this was just a beautiful imagination. That force still erupted at the most crucial moment. This force was so powerful that it exceeded his imagination. This power was even more terrifying than when he was at his peak. It instantly suppressed him, making him unable to resist. Damn it! I don't believe it! Open! Su Kuan roared. His eyes were wide open. He burned his soul origin in an attempt to break through the binding force. However, it was all in vain. It was just like Yang Hongwu earlier. No matter how hard he tried, no matter how crazily he tried, it was all to no avail. Even after breaking through the suppression of the force, he still couldn't break through the shackles. Why is it like this? Su Kuan roared. At this moment, he, who was imprisoned, had gone insane. He was about to succeed, but in an instant, he was knocked down to hell. He was knocked down from heaven to hell. No one would be able to accept such a huge contrast. I don't believe it. Why is it like this? I clearly succeeded, so why am I still failing? Why am I being suppressed? Su Kuan roared crazily. He shouted the words, "Why is it like this?" again and again. However, no matter how crazily he roared, no matter how unwilling he was, he couldn't break through the binding. He was suppressed in Yang Hongwu's sea of consciousness. At this moment, a huge golden dragon appeared in Yang Hongwu's sea of consciousness. It was extremely majestic and domineering. It roared and opened its mouth. A terrifying devouring force burst out from the dragon's mouth and swallowed Su Kuan. After that, the dragon soared into the sky again and disappeared into the void. After a while, Yang Hongwu opened his eyes. I'm not dead. After Yang Hongwu woke up, he couldn't believe it. Not only was he not dead, but he also discovered that his cultivation, mental strength and soul strength were much stronger than before. Peak of the half-step Divine Emperor realm. Yang Hongwu took a deep breath. His cultivation had reached the peak of the half-step Divine Emperor realm. He only needed a little bit more to break through the bottleneck and enter the Divine Emperor realm. Before this, Yang Hongwu already knew why he couldn't break through to the Divine Emperor realm. Although Yang Hongwu didn't know why he had escaped this calamity and why Su Kuan had disappeared, this was a huge advantage for him. Furthermore, this was the best time for him to raise his cultivation base and break through his bottleneck. If he didn't break through now, when would he be able to? Therefore, Yang Hongwu disappeared on the spot with a thought. In the next moment, Yang Hongwu appeared in the inner world. This was his common people's world. Chapter 1764. Yang Hongwu had obtained the reincarnation shrine from reincarnation. In fact, it had belonged to Su Kuan. Now that Yang Hongwu had killed Su Kuan and obtained all of his origin energy, the reincarnation shrine was naturally under Yang Hongwu's complete control. Along with Su Kuan's origin energy, with the addition of Su Kuan's space, Yang Hongwu had merged this space into his inner world, which was now Yang Hongwu's common people's great world. In the end, this world was missing the most important part, which was the 6 paths of reincarnation. Yang Hongwu had used everything he had obtained from killing Su Kuan to establish the 6 paths of reincarnation. He had established a hell, or spirit world, a spirit world that belonged to the common people's great world, Yang Hongwu's own spirit world. To form another world in one's own inner world was not easy. Even Yang Hongwu's current cultivation was not enough. Fortunately, Yang Hongwu's cultivation had broken through before. In addition, with the support of Su Kuan's enormous source, Yang Hongwu was able to form another world. Forming a world and opening up a spirit world. The moment the 6 paths of reincarnation was formed, a world was formed in Yang Hongwu's common people's great world. This world slowly condensed and formed. Moreover, it was constantly expanding. The spiritual qi of the entire common people's great world was constantly increasing. The laws were constantly changing, becoming even stronger. Marshall's aura was also constantly increasing. Time passed bit by bit, and the 6 paths of reincarnation was completely formed. The spiritual world was also formed along with the formation of the 6 paths of reincarnation. This world was much weaker than the entire common people's great world, but it had already formed a new world. This world was like the real spiritual world or the underworld. It could only contain spirit. The laws here did not allow living people to enter. Once a living person entered the underworld, they would be suppressed and restricted by the laws, unless their strength was enough to break Yang Hongwu's inner world. Otherwise, it would be impossible to break free from the restrictions of the laws. When the spirit world was formed and the 6 paths of reincarnation were established, Yang Hongwu's aura skyrocketed. His cultivation base had truly broken through. Divine Emperor Realm. Yang Hongwu's cultivation had finally reached the Divine Emperor Realm. His astonishing aura was almost comparable to that of an emperor. In the distance, the 2 women who were watching Yang Hongwu's breakthrough were incomparably shocked. They hadn't expected that just as Yang Hongwu was about to be devoured and killed, and his aura was about to dissipate, an earth-shaking change would occur, and his cultivation would suddenly rise countless times. However, at this moment, Pang Liren and Pang Lijuan were extremely worried. This sudden change caused them to be suspicious. They wondered if the Yang Hongwu in front of them was the real Yang Hongwu. Was he still the original Yang Hongwu? If he was possessed, it was not something they wanted to see. After all, it was impossible for one's cultivation to break through so easily. Furthermore, the change in one's aura was so great. However, there was nothing they could do now. They were trapped in the heavenly palace of destruction and couldn't even get out. They could only wait. When Yang Hongwu opened his eyes, a ray of light flashed across them. Then, Yang Hongwu withdrew his aura. At this moment, Yang Hongwu was just like an ordinary person. Then, Yang Hongwu waved his right hand gently and released the 2 women from the heavenly palace of destruction. Are you still our brother, Yang? Pang Lijuan hesitated and asked. Yang Hongwu was stunned at first, then he asked with a smile, "What do you think? You're Su Kuan?" Pang Liren asked. "You? Give me back my brother Yang. I'm going to kill you." Pang Liren's aura was fierce. She stared at Yang Hongwu with murderous intent. Yang Hongwu said, "If so, you're no match for me. It's really you? Sister, let's kill him together." "No, let's drive his soul out," Pang Liren said furiously. With that, Pang Liren charged at Yang Hongwu. At this moment, Pang Lijuan grabbed her sister and said, "All right, sister. Don't you see? This is Brother Yang. That's right. Brother Yang, stop teasing her. At this moment, Pang Liren came back to her senses. She looked at Yang Hongwu and pouted. She said with dissatisfaction, Brother Yang, you're so bad. You actually lied to me. How do you know? Yang Hongwu was very surprised to hear Pang Lijuan say that, and her tone was so certain. Could it be that she said that on purpose? If he wasn't real and had been possessed, then he would have to find a way to survive and take revenge? If that was the case, then it was a good idea. Making unnecessary sacrifices was the behavior of a fool. However, Pang Lijuan didn't seem to be thinking that way. Actually, I have a divine ability that can identify a person's soul origin. Everyone's soul origin is different. No matter how good the disguise is, it can't be changed. Brother Yang, there's no trace of Shukuan's qi in your body. So, I'm sure that Brother Yang hasn't been possessed. He was possessed, Pang Lijuan said. Really? Pang Liren said, Why didn't I know? Because you're too playful. You haven't awakened your divine ability. Pang Lijuan said. Well, Pang Liren said awkwardly, I'm not playful. I'll definitely awaken my divine ability. Yang Hongwu and Pang Lijuan laughed when they heard that. Brother Yang, you've broken through? After a while, Pang Lijuan looked at Yang Hongwu with surprise. Yang Hongwu nodded and said, Yes, my cultivation has indeed broken through. I'm now in the Divine Emperor realm. I won't be at a disadvantage even if I face the Emperor. The breakthrough in cultivation filled Yang Hongwu with confidence. As long as he could find the way back to the Divine Realm, it would be a good thing. As for the test of the 9 Divine Halls, Yang Hongwu didn't care too much about it. Of course, he still had to find the fragment of the Life Great Seal. He had to get it. However, I have to deal with something now. Yang Hongwu said to the 2 girls, You 2 enter my inner world first. What is it? Pang Liren asked. Inner world? Brother Yang, you have your own inner world? Of course. Yang Hongwu said, Cultivate well in my inner world. It'll be very beneficial for you. Chapter 1765. Divine Emperor Tribulation. Let me see the so-called Divine Emperor Tribulation. Yang Hongwu narrowed his eyes and looked at the sky. A vast amount of energy was gathering. This was a truly terrifying tribulation. The energy condensed was extremely terrifying. The vast power made the entire self-defense shrine tremble. Oh no! In the depths of the void, a person's face changed. This is the Great Void World-Destroying Thunder Tribulation. That guy actually triggered the Great Void World-Destroying Thunder Tribulation in my Divine Palace. What a bastard! This person was none other than the master of the self-defense Divine Palace. Yang Hongwu had a close relationship with him in his previous life. Thus, this time, he had specially invited Yang Hongwu to participate in the examination of the self-defense Divine Palace. Moreover, he had intentionally increased the difficulty of the examination. This way, Yang Hongwu would be defeated in the examination. He would gain a lot of benefit. However, he never expected that Yang Hongwu would trigger the Divine Emperor Tribulation in his first Divine Palace. Moreover, it was not an ordinary Divine Emperor Tribulation, but the legendary Great Void World-Destroying Thunder Tribulation. The Great Void World-Destroying Thunder Tribulation was not an ordinary thunder tribulation, but a real peerless one. When an expert broke the shackles of the Emperor, he would encounter a thunder tribulation. Such a thunder tribulation could easily destroy a macro world. What he did not expect was that Yang Hongwu could trigger such a terrifying thunder tribulation when he was just crossing the Divine Emperor Tribulation. What was worse was that this bastard was crossing the tribulation in his own Divine Palace. One could imagine how depressed he was. As a supreme expert and the master of the Divine Palace, Ji Guo was an invincible existence in all the worlds. Facing Yang Hongwu's situation, he was helpless. In fact, he had a way to send Yang Hongwu out of the Divine Palace. If it was Yang Hongwu's previous life, he would have been very close to him. If it weren't for the fact that they had a close relationship, he would have thrown Yang Hongwu out directly. If it was someone else, he would have done so. However, because it was Yang Hongwu, he couldn't do anything about it. Not to mention whether Yang Hongwu would be able to surpass the God King tribulation. Yang Hongwu would be greatly affected if he were to throw Yang Hongwu out. He didn't want to see that. Of course, Yang Hongwu didn't know all of this. He didn't know that at this moment, he had already attracted the attention of the big shots in the universe. After all, his cultivation was still too weak. Even though he had already reached the Divine Emperor realm, he still couldn't compare with those big shots in the universe. Compared to his brother, he was still too weak. They were not on the same level at all. Those big shots were all existences that surpassed the Emperor. A mere cultivator of the Divine Emperor realm was not worth mentioning at all. No matter how outstanding he was, no matter how talented he was nothing. A genius who had not grown up was nothing. The reason why these big shots from all over the universe had noticed Yang Hongwu was entirely because he had been on the same level as these big shots in his previous life. However, these big shots who noticed Yang Hongwu not only wanted to help Yang Hongwu, but also his friends and enemies. Moreover, there were quite a number of them. However, compared to Yang Hongwu's friends, the number of his enemies who knew about him was much smaller. Of course, some of them didn't care about him at all. They were more afraid of him. After all, Yang Hongwu was too powerful in his previous life. It could be said that he was invincible. Such a powerful person actually dared to reincarnate and cultivate again. Therefore, although his enemies hated him to the core, they wouldn't dare to act rashly. Who knew if Yang Hongwu would leave anything behind? What was his trump card? If it was anyone else who wanted to reincarnate and cultivate again, who would dare to do so without leaving some trump cards behind? What if he was killed in the reincarnation? Wouldn't it be bad luck? Therefore, any powerhouse would not easily reincarnate and cultivate again unless they were absolutely certain that they would succeed. Unless they had no other choice, they would not do so. This little bastard. Fortunately, he is in my Giga Divine Palace. If he was in the outside world, he would be in big trouble. As the master of the Giga Divine Palace, Giga's strength was incomparably powerful. With a wave of his hand, he instantly blocked Yang Hongwu's location. This time, all the big shots in the universe instantly lost their senses. They lost contact with him. If he didn't do so, Yang Hongwu would be in big trouble. As for Yang Hongwu, his face was extremely solemn. He clearly felt that his Divine Emperor tribulation this time contained a terrifying danger. It made him feel that his life was in danger. Just like before, this danger made his hair stand on end. He had never encountered such a terrifying lightning tribulation. The so-called lightning spear from before was nothing compared to this lightning tribulation. They weren't on the same level at all. Yang Hongwu looked as if he was facing a great enemy. Damn it! Why is this lightning tribulation so terrifying? Is this really a Divine Emperor tribulation? Yang Hongwu murmured, looking at the sky. What kind of hatred do you have with me? Why did you release such a terrifying power? Yang Hongwu was a little suspicious. The reason why the lightning tribulation was so terrifying was because of the Giga Divine Palace. In the Giga Divine Palace, his lightning tribulation was strengthened by the Giga Divine Palace. Yes, it must be the master of the Giga Divine Palace. Damn it. Even my Divine Emperor tribulation is strengthened. Damn it. Why am I so unlucky? Yang Hongwu thought and said. Giga was paying attention to Yang Hongwu. When he heard this, he was furious. You little bastard, you dare to scold me? You're really a bastard. If I hadn't concealed your aura and isolated a portion of the power of the tribulation lightning that descended would have been even more terrifying, even more terrifying. If you dare to speak ill of me again, I won't care about you, little bastard. Get out. Zhiga scolded. However, although he scolded, he wouldn't really throw Yang Hongwu out of the Zhiga Divine Palace. At this time, Yang Hongwu's first lightning tribulation had already descended. This first lightning tribulation was like an ordinary lightning bolt. However, the power contained in this lightning bolt was extremely terrifying. It was far more powerful than the lightning spear from before. Gotcha! Yang Hongwu didn't have time to block it. This lightning bolt had already bombarded Yang Hongwu's body. A powerful destructive power instantly entered Yang Hongwu's body and wreaked havoc. Yang Hongwu felt that his body was about to collapse. This power was too terrifying. Puff! Chapter 1766. For Yang Hongwu, he had experienced the heavenly tribulation, thunder tribulation, and even the heavenly punishment and thunder tribulation of the Great Way. Ever since he experienced the thunder tribulation of the heavenly punishment, Yang Hongwu no longer felt any fear or worry about it. For a long time, Yang Hongwu had recognized the thunder tribulation. It was a good thing to provide energy and spiritual qi. But this time, it was different from the past. The thunder tribulation this time put too much pressure on him. His physical body could not withstand such a thunder tribulation. It was only the first thunder tribulation, but it had already injured Yang Hongwu. It should be known that his devouring furnace, immortal dragon body, and other things could withstand the power of the thunder tribulation. However, this thunder tribulation seemed to be far beyond what he could withstand. It's just a thunder tribulation. I don't believe it. Yang Hongwu said coldly. If I can't even withstand this thunder tribulation, then I'm too useless. The second thunder tribulation fell. This thunder tribulation was more powerful and terrifying than the first one. It even contained a trace of the power of annihilation. The destructive power of annihilation was very terrifying. Yang Hongwu had the Dharma eye of annihilation, so he naturally had some understanding of the power of annihilation. Even if it was only a trace of the power of annihilation, it was enough to destroy a small space. When the thunder tribulation fell on Yang Hongwu, most of the power of thunder tribulation was absorbed by Yang Hongwu. However, there was still a small part of the power of thunder tribulation, which still contained the power of annihilation. It hit Yang Hongwu's physical body and constantly damaged it. The excruciating pain made Yang Hongwu grit his teeth. It had been a long time since he had experienced such pain. He had only experienced such pain in the past, before he had experienced the thunder tribulation of the Great Path. This strand of annihilation power caused the greatest damage to Yang Hongwu. Although it was only a strand of annihilation power, the damage it caused to Yang Hongwu's body was quite terrifying. Compared to the damage caused by the thunderbolt power, the damage caused by this strand of annihilation power was dozens of times stronger. The power of annihilation, if there was more, what would the result be? Yang Hongwu didn't dare to imagine it. However, just as Yang Hongwu was vexed over that strand of annihilation power, the third lightning tribulation was about to descend. The power of the third lightning tribulation made Yang Hongwu feel even more terrifying. The annihilation power contained within it was even greater. Damn it, do you want me to live? Yang Hongwu cursed. He hadn't even digested the power of the second lightning tribulation, and the third one was about to descend. This was bad. The divine tree of fortune was constantly absorbing the power in the void, condensing the qi of fortune to nourish Yang Hongwu's physical body, making it stronger. Yang Hongwu was overjoyed. He didn't expect the Dharma eye of annihilation to have such an ability. It was amazing that it could devour the annihilation power. Not only that, but Nini and the divine tree of creation had also awakened at the right time. Without the help of the divine tree of creation and Nini, his injuries would not have recovered so quickly. Yang Hongwu was very clear about this. Part of the reason for his injuries and the stabilization of his cultivation was due to Nini, and the divine tree of fortune also contributed. With the help of the Dharma Eye of Annihilation, Nini and the divine tree of fortune, as well as the Life Great Seal and the Life Great World, Yang Hongwu was much more confident now. Come on, I don't care about a mere divine Emperor Thunder tribulation. What can it do to me? Yang Hongwu shouted, as if he didn't care about the divine Emperor Thunder tribulation at all. Boom! Chapter 1767. Sigh. Zhigu sighed. You still need me to clean up after you. Zhigu waved his hand and a powerful force sealed off this space. At this moment the great Tao seemed to be blocked. In the void, the terrifying energy that was originally condensed dissipated. At this time, Yang Hongwu unexpectedly found that although the power of the Thunder Tribulation increased a lot, it did not exceed his limit. It seemed to be controlled. This is strange. Could it be that someone is helping me? Yang Hongwu was not a fool. Logically speaking, the power of the Lightning Tribulation should be more terrifying than the previous one. Although the fourth and fifth Lightning Tribulation were powerful, they did not increase exponentially. This made Yang Hongwu suspicious. However, Yang Hongwu was not surprised. However, no matter what, this was good for Yang Hongwu. One after another, the Thunder Tribulations passed. Finally, it was the last Thunder Tribulation. This last Thunder Tribulation made Yang Hongwu extremely surprised. In the void, a ball of purple lightning condensed into a human figure. When this human figure condensed, Yang Hongwu's eyes widened. This person's face could not be seen clearly, but his entire body was condensed from pure energy. You are very good. However, you should not have tried to block my power. This person looked at Yang Hongwu and said, You are the spirit of the Thunder Tribulation? Yang Hongwu narrowed his eyes and looked at this guy. I am the spirit of the Thunder Tribulation of the Void. You deserve to die. The spirit of the Thunder Tribulation looked at Yang Hongwu. His aura locked onto Yang Hongwu, which made Yang Hongwu's heart palpitate. This spirit of the Thunder Tribulation's aura was very powerful. His strength was also very terrifying. Although on the surface, this spirit of the Thunder Tribulation's cultivation realm was not high, and seemed to be not much different from Yang Hongwu, Yang Hongwu could feel that this spirit of the Thunder Tribulation's combat power was extremely terrifying. Every move of his contained supreme power. Damn it, it's the spirit of the Thunder Tribulation. This thing has appeared. Little guy, this time, you can only rely on yourself. If you can't block it and are killed by the spirit of the Thunder Tribulation, don't blame me. In the depths of the void, Zhigu looked at this scene helplessly. This was what Yang Hongwu had to go through. If he could not pass through it, only death would be the only road. Although Zhiji's strength was strong, he could not help Yang Hongwu anymore. If he did, it would attract the attention of the Supreme Court. If that happened, not only would Yang Hongwu suffer, even he himself would not be able to withstand the Supreme Courts. The punishment. You want to kill me? That's impossible. Let me see how strong the legendary spirit of the Thunder Tribulation is. Yang Hongwu snorted. He knew that he was facing a huge crisis. If he could pass through it this time, then his strength would usher in a real qualitative change. But if he failed, he was afraid that he would lose his life. Not bad, little guy. As long as you can block 50% of my strength, I will leave you a chance to live. After saying that, the spirit of the Thunder Tribulation took out his weapon. It was a long spear. This was the legendary Thunder Spear. Yang Hongwu was not unfamiliar with the Thunder Spear at all. Yang Hongwu knew how powerful the Thunder Spear was. It was just a Thunder Spear that no one was wielding. This time, The spirit of the Thunder Tribulation was wielding the Thunder Spear to deal with Yang Hongwu. This made Yang Hongwu feel flattered. Die! As the spirit of the Thunder Tribulation roared, the Thunder Spear in his hand pierced through the space and pierced towards Yang Hongwu. Haha, good. You want to kill me? You must be dreaming. Yang Hongwu laughed heartily. Facing the threat of the Thunder Spear, he did not care. He took out a battle blade in his hand. This was his Hong Meng battle blade. At this moment, Yang Hongwu no longer had his previous worries. He fell into a mysterious state. He waved the war blade in his hand and slashed out again and again. Each slash contained the supreme power of law and collided with the lightning spear. Yang Hongwu was pushed back with every collision. However, Yang Hongwu did not retreat. Instead, he continued to attack and became more ferocious. Slash after slash, Yang Hongwu did not know how many collisions they had. Every time they collided, Yang Hongwu would suffer different degrees of damage. As the terrifying power of the Thunder Spear rushed into Yang Hongwu's body, the damage caused to him became greater and greater. Yang Hongwu's injuries became more and more serious. His strength seemed to be weakening little by little. However, Yang Hongwu's fighting spirit became stronger. His eyes were filled with the flames of battle. The power of the Hong Meng battle blade was unleashed to the extreme by Yang Hongwu. What amazing willpower! Looking at Yang Hongwu, the spirit of the Thunder Tribulation was shocked. His strength was almost endless. However, Yang Hongwu was not like that. At this moment, Yang Hongwu's injuries were getting worse. However, he was becoming more and more courageous. This shocked the spirit of the Thunder Tribulation. It was admiring. However, as the spirit of the Thunder Tribulation and the executor of the Thunder Tribulation of the Great Path, it could not let Yang Hongwu go. After all, Yang Hongwu's previous actions could be said to be disrespectful to the Thunder Tribulation of the Great Path. It was a great disrespect. It was even looking down on the Supreme Court. This was absolutely intolerable. If he defeated the spirit of the Thunder Tribulation, it would be his fortune to survive this Thunder Tribulation. Not only would he not die, but he would also obtain an unparalleled opportunity that would allow his strength to improve tremendously. However, if he could not withstand it, only death would await him. Moreover, he would dissipate forever without a trace of life. Ah, break through for me! Following Yang Hongwu's roar, Yang Hongwu's aura changed instantly. He had comprehended the supreme nomological laws of the Saber Tao. No matter how strong you are, I only need one slash. One slash to cut through everything. One slash to cut through the heavens. This slash was unstoppable. This slash could destroy the heavens and earth. With a slash of the saber, a vast amount of power condensed in the Hong Meng battle blade. This slash seemed ordinary, but it contained supreme power. This slash broke through the restraints of the nomological laws. This slash was the supreme power of the Saber Tao. Crack! With a crisp sound, Yang Hongwu's slash shattered the spear of thunder. The spirit of the Thunder Tribulation had an arm cut off. How could this be? The spirit of the Thunder Tribulation looked at Yang Hongwu in disbelief. He had an arm cut off. He was actually injured. Chapter 1768. The Culpa spirit could only stare blankly at Yang Hongwu's blade. Gotcha! That blade cut the Culpa spirit into pieces. At that moment, Yang Hongwu's absorbing cauldron appeared and absorbed the Culpa spirit, refining it. After the boundless energy was refined, it fused into Yang Hongwu's body. With the Thunder Tribulation spirit shattered, the tribulation clouds in the sky also dissipated. Yang Hongwu also felt relieved. At that moment, he had finally broken through to the godly emperor layer. On top of that, he had the strength of the top of the first godly emperor layer. He was about to break through to the second godly emperor layer. Good boy, you're enlightened. Not bad, said Jigu, who was in the depths of the void, when he saw that Yang Hongwu had passed the Kulpa lightning. He took a deep breath. Oh no! But then, Jigu gave a horrible shriek because the Jigu shrine had collapsed. Bastard! My Jigu shrine! The power of the Kulpa was too strong. The Jigu divine palace bore the brunt of the Kulpa's power. That was the Nihility Kulpa, not an ordinary Kulpa. In this world, the Jigu divine palace was just a clone. It bore the brunt of the Kulpa's power. It had reached its limit. Therefore, the first Jigu shrine in the Dark Night continent had been destroyed. Even though it was just a clone, after being destroyed, it had a huge impact. Restoring it would cost a lot. Therefore, Jigu was heartbroken. If he wanted to restore the shrine, it would take 100 years. At that moment, Yang Hongwu and the two others were teleported out of the first shrine. When they appeared outside and saw the first shrine collapsing, they were confused. Moreover, the other people who were taking the test in the shrine were also teleported out at this time. They were all confused. The shrine collapsed. What's going on? Outside, when they saw the collapse of the first shrine, they were all dumbstruck. What should we do? Doesn't that mean that we won't be able to enter the shrine and take the test? Many people cried out. At this moment, Montenegro was extremely depressed. The same was true for the wise old man. They were all teleported out. There are self-defense divine halls in other places. We have to go to those self-defense divine halls to take the test. Old Man 100 Wisdom hurriedly said, Our Dark Night continent should have 3 self-defense divine temples. This is only one of them. That's right. Let's quickly go to the other 2 shrines. Hopefully we can still enter those 2 shrines. Many people shouted. However, Yang Hongwu and Pangliren did not act like the others. Yang Hongwu directly brought the 2 of them to the second divine hall. What are they doing? Could it be that they've already passed the test of the first self-defense divine hall? At this moment, the Black Mountain Old Devil saw this and shouted loudly. Even he himself couldn't pass the test of the first self-defense divine palace in such a short period of time. He had only passed the 6th floor, and when he was about to pass the 6th floor, he was inexplicably stopped. He didn't believe that Yang Hongwu and the other 2 would be able to pass. Nothing is impossible. It's just that you're too weak. It doesn't mean that others can't pass in such a short amount of time. At this moment, Pangliren was extremely proud. She looked at Montenegro and said, You're just a piece of trash, a piece of trash. How can you be mentioned in the same breath as us? After saying this, Pangliren proudly snorted. She raised her head and followed behind Yang Hongwu. Immediately, they entered the second self-defense divine hall's test passage. No, I don't believe it. When he saw that Yang Hongwu and the other 2 had entered the second divine hall, Montenegro went crazy. He also rushed towards the entrance of the second divine hall. However, he was blown away by a powerful force. He crashed heavily on the ground and looked at Yang Hongwu and the other 2 furiously. It's actually true. In such a short amount of time, he passed the first divine hall's test. Could it be that the first divine hall collapsed because of him? Murmured Bai Ji. He broke through to the godly emperor layer. His aura has become extremely terrifying. If he were to unleash his full strength, he would be able to easily crush the Black Mountain Old Devil, as expected of the legendary Fate Emperor. At that moment, a beam of light appeared in the second divine hall. That beam of light was the Jiga Medallion. The Jiga Medallion's appearance astonished everyone. Then, the Jiga Medallion released a beam of light that condensed into a line of simple and unadorned characters. The young genius Yang Hongwu's talent is astonishing. He broke through in the Jiga Divine Hall and attracted a lightning tribulation, causing the first Divine Hall to collapse. The others can directly enter the second Jiga Divine Hall. However, the second Jiga Divine Hall is filled with danger. It's the most difficult Divine Hall. This divine hall is 100 times more difficult. If you're not strong enough, you can't enter. However, if you can break through the gate of the second divine hall, you can enter." Seeing this line of words, everyone was overjoyed. "Montenegro isn't qualified," said someone suddenly. "Do you want to die?" Hearing that, Montenegro immediately looked at that person. Terrifying killing intent enveloped him. That person's face immediately paled. He was terrified. "What are you afraid of? Now that the Giga medallion is here, he won't dare do anything unless he wants to die," said the other person. He was also terrified, but he still spoke. "You're all courting death. Although I can't kill you now, once the Giga medallion disappears, only death will await you," said Montenegro coldly. A few brats actually dared to threaten him? Montenegro was infuriated. However, because of the Giga medallion, he didn't dare to do anything. But that didn't mean that he wouldn't do anything once the medallion disappeared. The two of them were scared to death when they heard that. They had forgotten that although they couldn't do anything while the Giga medallion was in place, once it disappeared, there would be no restrictions. At that time, if Montenegro wanted to do anything to them, they wouldn't be able to stop him. Chapter 1769. The rest of the people also followed. Of course, there were some who were unable to enter. Only a small number of people were able to pass. Montenegro's face was ashen. "I don't believe that I, Haitian, cannot pass the test of the first palace." After saying that, Montenegro once again rushed towards the door. Unexpectedly, Montenegro also went in. Impossible. Montenegro, he was unable to enter the first time. How could he enter the second time? Some of the people who failed the first time were eager to give it a try. Many people had already rushed forward. Unfortunately, the result disappointed them. They were unable to pass through the door and enter the second test divine palace. At this moment, Yang Hongwu had already appeared in front of a huge palace. At the same time, Yang Hongwu was surprised to discover that not only Yang Hongwu and the rest were in front of the palace, there were also others who had entered. These people were the people who were previously outside. Among them, there was Montenegro and Baiji Elder. "Brat, today is the day you die." Montenegro looked at Yang Hongwu and said coldly, "What's going on? Wasn't Montenegro blocked? Why did he also enter?" The others were astonished, including Baiji Elder. In a short while, countless people appeared in front of the palace. These people came from all over the Dark Night continent. "How arrogant!" Yang Hongwu coldly snorted. He did not put Montenegro in his heart. If it was before, Yang Hongwu would have some fear towards Montenegro. After all, he still had Pang Liren and Pang Lijuan. But at this moment, Yang Hongwu was not worried. Previously, he could send the two girls into his inner world. Now Yang Hongwu could send them into the common people's great world as he wished. He did not have to worry about their safety. In addition, his cultivation had already broken through to the first level of the Divine Emperor realm. Even if he did not send them into the common people's great world, there would be no problem. He could still protect them. Therefore, Yang Hongwu did not care about Montenegro's provocation at all. The geniuses of the entire Dark Night continent were transported here one after another. The originally spacious hall became crowded all of a sudden. At this moment, shouts could be heard. All the geniuses present became crazy, especially the men. Yang Hongwu looked over. It turned out that it was a woman. This woman had a graceful figure, and her entire body was filled with an ethereal aura. This woman's face was covered with a white veil, and her face couldn't be seen clearly. However, her strength was also very strong, and it brought a lot of pressure to Yang Hongwu. This pressure was much stronger than that of the Black Mountain Old Demon. Anya Shenv. Yang Hongwu heard the shouts of the crowd. He finally understood why this woman's appearance would cause such a huge commotion. It turned out that this woman was the legendary first beauty of the Dark Knight continent, Anya Shenv. This surprised young Hongwu. What surprised him was not the woman's appearance or temperament. What surprised him was her cultivation. Her cultivation was definitely not weak. No wonder she could gain a foothold in the Dark Knight continent. She was one of the top experts. Her strength was actually so strong. After a while, a few more experts appeared. That's the Dark Knight Saint's son. He actually appeared. My genius. The Dark Knight Saint's son is the first genius of the Dark Knight continent. His strength is incomparably strong. It is said that his current cultivation is even stronger than that of the Sun God. When the Dark Knight Saint's son appeared, everyone exclaimed. The Dark Knight Saint's son was the first genius of the Dark Knight continent. His talent was even stronger than that of the Sun God. The Dark Knight Saint's son was very arrogant. Of course, he also had the ability to be arrogant. He was astonishingly talented and powerful. His cultivation was indeed unfathomable. At such a young age, he was already an expert of the Emperor realm. Many experts of the older generation were no match for him. He could be said to be strong. And the Dark Knight Saint's son was Anya Shenv's pursuer. However, Anya Shenv did not pay much attention to the Dark Knight Saint's son. Anya Shenv did not even take a fancy to such a peerless genius. No matter how the Dark Knight Saint's son pestered him, Anya Shenv did not take a fancy to him. This made the Dark Knight Saint's son feel very helpless. However, he had already announced that anyone who dared to have any ideas about Anya Shenv would be going against him. Therefore, on the Dark Knight continent, there were not many geniuses who dared to pursue Anya Shenv. After all, not everyone could afford to offend Anya Shenv. In addition to the Dark Knight Saint's son, there were two other people who were also very strong. One was the Dark Spirit Saint's son of the Dark Spirit clan. The other was the Sun God's son. The Sun God's son had a mysterious origin. He claimed to be the descendant of the Sun God. Yang Hongwu felt a part of the most powerful origin energy of the Dark Knight continent from this person. This guy's power was from the same source as that of the Sun God's son. Therefore, this guy was probably really the descendant of the Sun God. These four people could be said to be the most outstanding and strongest of the younger generation. Many old antiques were no match for them. Of course, there were also some experts of the older generation. However, these experts of the older generation were much fewer. After all, those experts of the older generation, the old antiques, had participated in the assessment of the War Shrine. Those who had participated in the previous assessment were not allowed to enter this place this time. However, there were also a few people who were quite strong and could not be underestimated. Montenegro was one of them. After all, Montenegro was famous and no one dared to offend him. The other person was Tian Shang, the Lord of Demon City. Tian Shang. As soon as Tian Shang appeared, Yang Hongwu felt a familiar aura. This aura was obviously not something that could be possessed by someone from the Dark Knight continent. This guy possessed the origin aura of the deity realm, which made it easy for Yang Hongwu to identify him. However, Yang Hongwu had restrained his own aura. Tian Shang could not detect it. After all, his cultivation was not at the Emperor realm. With Tian Shang's cultivation and strength, he did not care about warriors who had not reached the Emperor realm. However, something unexpected happened. Although ordinary people would not pay attention to Yang Hongwu, Anya Shenv walked towards Yang Hongwu. It seemed that Yang Hongwu was particularly fond of him. Chapter 1770. I don't need to explain who he is to you. Besides, don't call me Inger. We're not that close. Anya Shenv grunted icily and turned to Yang Hongwu. Can I go with you? Everybody was astonished. They hadn't thought that a young man who only had the strength of the first godly emperor layer would be able to win Anya Shenv's favor. They couldn't believe it. Holy Son of the Dark Night was furious. He looked at Yang Hongwu and said, "Little boy, do you know what you're doing? Inger isn't someone you can get close to. If you know what's good for you, hurry up and come here. Otherwise, you'll die." That little boy is doomed. He only has the strength of the first godly emperor layer, and he's so arrogant. He dares offend Holy Son of the Dark Night. He's doomed. Indeed. What a pity. That young man is talented. He's so young and he's already a godly emperor. Besides, I've heard that he was the first one to enter the second shrine. He's very talented, said another one. What's the point of being talented? He offended Holy Son of the Dark Night and he's doomed. He only has the strength of the first godly emperor layer, but Holy Son of the Dark Night is already an emperor. Even some cultivators at the top of the emperor layer can't compete with him. That little boy only has the strength of the first godly emperor layer. Holy Son of the Dark Night is like an egg hitting a rock. He's doomed. Sigh. What a pity. Tisk tsk, you're wrong. Did you forget about Anya Shenv? She actually took a fancy to this brat. How could she watch this brat be killed by the Dark Night Holy Son? Another person said. Indeed, I forgot about that. Anya Shenv can't watch him die. Gigolo. Hiding behind a woman, how shameful, some jealous people said. What's wrong with that? To be a gigolo who lives off a woman, you need to be strong. That brat is able to catch the eyes of the goddess of the Dark Night because of his ability. For people like you, not to mention the goddess of the Dark Night, even the Blood Lady of the Dark Night wouldn't like you, that person said again. They were speechless. In fact, Blood Lady of the Dark Night was very powerful. She was one of the geniuses of the Dark Night continent. However, Blood Lady of the Dark Night was different from Anya Shenv. Her appearance, tisk tsk, compared to Anya Shenv, was like heaven and earth. Blood Lady of the Dark Night. She was extremely cruel and her methods were shocking. However, she was extremely ugly. It could be said that there were not many people in the entire Dark Night continent who were uglier than the Dark Night Blood Lady. In the Dark Night continent, Dark Night Blood Lady was famous for her ugliness. Of course, she was also very powerful. Although she was not as powerful as Anya Shenv, she was not far behind. She was also one of the top 10 geniuses of the Dark Night continent. Vixen. Pang Liren looked at Anya Shenv with dissatisfaction. So did Pang Lijuan. The two girls each held one of Yang Hongwu's arms and stared at Anya Shenv vigilantly. The two girls had to admit that this woman was very seductive. Anya Tianyi. Hearing the Dark Night Saint's threat, Anya Shenv was furious. He looked at the saint coldly and said, "Do you want to fight with me?" Inger. As soon as he finished speaking, Anya Shenv punched him. The Dark Night Saint was shocked and quickly dodged. Are you crazy? You actually want to fight with me here for this gigolo? This wasn't an ordinary place. This was the Divine Examination Palace. If one made a move before entering the examination, one might lose the qualification to take the examination or even be killed. The Dark Night Saint, Dark Night Tianyi, was well aware of this. If he was killed, it would not be worth it. If you dare to threaten me again, I won't be polite. Anya Shenv said coldly. Everyone was shocked. They did not expect that Anya Shenv cared so much about Yang Hongwu, a boy who had just reached the Divine Emperor realm. It was too unexpected. Humph, boy, don't stand behind a woman if you dare. Wait until the assessment starts. I'll teach you a lesson. Anya Tianyi was very angry, but there was nothing he could do. He did not dare to provoke Anya Shenv again. Once she was angry, she would fight with him. That would be troublesome. Yang Hongwu didn't care and said, Anya Tianyi, right? I can tell you that I have nothing to do with this lady. However, it's annoying for you to threaten me like this. What I hate the most is being threatened by others. Moreover, those who have threatened me have never been good. I think you'll be no exception. Haha, boy, you're so arrogant. Anya Tianyi was so angry that he laughed. When the assessment starts, I'll make you wish you were dead. Little brother, don't be afraid. At this time, the dark spirit Holy Son said, Me too. I can't stand such self-righteous people. The dark spirit Saint's son, dark spirit crazed killer, had always been the dark spirit Saint Son's sworn enemy. If the two of them were to compare their strengths, the dark spirit Saint Son, dark spirit crazed killer, was stronger. However, if it was a real life and death battle, the outcome would be unknown. Humph! Anya Tianyi snorted. He did not hide the killing intent in his eyes. Young master, what's your name? Anya Shenv looked at Yang Hongwu and asked. What are you doing? Brother Yang is ours. Pang Liren said. That's right. Pang Lijuan blushed slightly, but she agreed with Pang Liren. Pang Liren seemed to be afraid that Yang Hongwu would be taken away by someone else. Sisters, don't worry. I won't take him away. Anya Shenv smiled. My name is Yang Hongwu. Miss, what's the matter? Do you know that you've caused me a lot of trouble? Yang Hongwu said. It's not a problem for you, is it? Anya Shenv said with a smile. There seemed to be some special meaning in her eyes. What do you want from me? Yang Hongwu said, I don't know you. And I'm just a divine emperor. I don't seem to be a threat to you. Or rather, I can't help you. No. Anya Shenv smiled and shook his head. You can help me. Here, only by your side is the safest. I want to be with you. Chapter 1771. Mr. Baiji hadn't thought that he would be asked such a question. He also hadn't thought that his identity would be exposed so easily. Yang Hongwu turned around and saw that he had changed his appearance. Mr. Baiji realized that his identity had been exposed, so he didn't try to hide it anymore. However, what surprised him was that Anya Shenv seemed to know a lot. Goddess, you misunderstand me. Even though I know a few things, I don't know much. There are some things that I can't guess, said Mr. Baiji. If Mr. Baiji can't guess, then it's not simple, said Tianshang at that moment. Little brother, I sense a familiar qi on your body. Tianshang looked at Yang Hongwu and said those words in a meaningful way. Tianshang, the leader of Evil Demon City? Asked Yang Hongwu. Actually, Yang Hongwu wanted to find Tianshang. If he hadn't done that, he wouldn't have met Montenegro. He wouldn't have fought against him. You know me? Asked Tianshang. It seems like I guessed right. However, this isn't the place to talk. Let's wait until after the exam. Alright. Yang Hongwu didn't think that this guy was a good person. In fact, Yang Hongwu sensed a lot of evil aura and terrible karma from Tianshang. Many innocent people had died in Tianshang's hands. At that moment, the geniuses were even more curious about Yang Hongwu. He only had the strength of the first godly emperor layer. In the Dark Knight continent, such a cultivation level wasn't bad. However, compared to those outstanding geniuses, he couldn't be compared to them. Even if he was extremely talented, his cultivation level was too low. He only had the strength of the first godly emperor layer. There were many strong cultivators of the emperor layer there. Even those who had the strength of the top of the emperor layer could easily defeat him. However, that young man who only had the strength of the first godly emperor layer was so important. First of all, Anya Shenv was an ordinary person, a weak cultivator. Even if he was extremely talented, he couldn't easily win Anya Shenv's favor. Anya Shenv wasn't stupid and naive. In the Dark Knight continent, a woman who had such a high cultivation level and social status couldn't be simple. She was a woman who didn't care about the geniuses of the Dark Knight continent, such as the Holy Son of the Sun God, or the Holy Son of the Sun Dynasty. How could she be easily seduced by a little boy who had the strength of the first godly emperor layer? On top of that, even Tianshang and the old man of the 100 wisdom looked at him in a new light. Therefore, that young man wasn't simple, he was definitely not simple. The more people looked at that young man, the more they had a bad impression of him. However, they didn't know what was so special about that young man. Why did so many people think so highly of him? Yang Hongwu was also very helpless. He had suddenly become the focus of everyone's eyes. Some of the old-timers also noticed Yang Hongwu, and their eyes flickered with a strange light. Yang Hongwu smiled bitterly in his heart. This was great. He had suddenly become the target of public criticism. This was not good. However, even though it was troublesome, Yang Hongwu didn't care. So what if it was troublesome? In there, people who were extremely strong were suppressed. When the exam started, they would be suppressed to the same cultivation level. As long as they were at the same cultivation level, Yang Hongwu wasn't afraid of anyone. If anyone dared attack him, they would die. Thinking about that, Yang Hongwu's eyes were filled with murder. After a short time, the passage closed. The entire palace was sealed. Not good, the passage is sealed. Many of the geniuses' faces changed. The passage was sealed, which meant that they couldn't go back. However, most of the geniuses didn't care. It was as if everything was within their expectations. At this moment, a figure appeared. This figure's face couldn't be seen clearly. Even the divine sense couldn't sense it. It seemed ethereal. However, this figure seemed to possess a powerful strength, as if it could suppress anyone. Welcome everyone to the second palace of the Ji Gu Divine Palace. The figure spoke. I'm the Tsang Emperor's general. I'll be the one in charge of this exam. Speaking up to this point, he glanced at the surroundings and said, everyone here is a genius of the Dark Knight continent. You're all outstanding figures. However, there won't be many people who can truly pass this level's test. Only those who can enter the top 10 of this test will be able to enter the third temple's test. However, this doesn't mean that those who enter the top 10 will definitely be able to enter the next round. This is because this round is extremely dangerous and difficult. There might not be 10 people who can pass. Only those who pass and are ranked in the top 10 will be able to enter the next round. I will definitely pass. General, can we start now? That's right. I believe that I will definitely be one of the top 10. Many geniuses were extremely confident that they would be able to enter the top 10. Everyone, please don't be impatient. The Tsang Emperor stated. The exam will begin soon. But before that, let me explain the rules of this round. At this moment, the crowd quietened down. The Tsang Emperor continued. This round is divided into 3 steps. The first step tests everyone's will and determination. If your will and determination isn't strong enough, you won't be able to pass. The second step tests everyone's talent. If your talent isn't strong enough, you won't be able to pass. The third step tests everyone's combat prowess. Those who pass the first 2 rounds will be sent to my Azure Emperor realm. In my Azure Emperor realm, the person with the most tokens will be ranked first. If you don't have a token, you will die. Remember, if you pass the first 2 rounds, you will have to seriously consider whether you want to enter the third round. These words caused the hearts of many to skip a beat. However, the majority of the participants were still extremely confident. Alright, let's not waste any more words. The first round is a test of one's state of mind. I hope all of you can pass this grand formation. The Tsang Emperor waved his hands as a gigantic formation appeared. This formation was filled with a mysterious energy. Just a single glance at it would cause one's heart to sink into it. It was as though they were about to be sucked away. It was extremely terrifying. Chapter 1772. Yang Hongwu was the first to enter. When the others saw Yang Hongwu and the other 2 enter the formation, they were unwilling to fall behind and all followed. Especially Anya Tianyi. He let out a cold snort and actually followed not far behind Yang Hongwu. Yang Hongwu didn't mind at all. After entering the formation, Yang Hongwu used his own strength to isolate himself from the formation. It could be said that the formation didn't affect Yang Hongwu at all. Of course, Pang Li and the other two girls were the same. No one could compare to Yang Hongwu when it came to array formations. At the very least, that was definitely the case here. After walking around the formation, Yang Hongwu came out from the other side with the two girls. Seeing this scene, some people who had yet to enter the formation were shocked to the extreme. Is this array formation fake? They came out so quickly? That's too fast. Everyone couldn't believe it. Even the examiner, Lord Song, was dumbfounded. How could it be possible? Even his master, the master of the Divine Palace of War, couldn't do it in such a short time. Is there something wrong with the formation? Many in the crowd shared the same opinion. Even the Azure Emperor himself had his doubts. But then again, how could this test array be broken so easily? There was nothing wrong with the formation. Then, the only possibility was that Yang Hongwu and the other two were too strong. The formation wasn't difficult for them at all. Or, the three of them had some special treasure that blocked the formation. The Holy Son of the Dark Knight and the Divine Son of the Apollo Palace didn't come out. Who is this kid? No wonder Anya Shen thinks so highly of him. His speed is too amazing. This kid has amazing talent. I think he can break the Sun God's record. No, I'm sure that the Sun God wasn't as strong as this kid. Even if the Sun God was strong, he couldn't be faster than this kid in the formation. Many people were still discussing. As a formation that tested one's state of mind, it wasn't that simple. If one's state of mind wasn't up to par, they would be trapped in the formation. Many of them would never be able to wake up. Time passed slowly. Because many people didn't pass this round, Lord Song didn't start the next round. Yang Hongwu and Pang Lijuan could only wait. However, Yang Hongwu regretted coming out too early. He should have waited a little longer. Then, he wouldn't be in the limelight. However, it was too late to say these words now. At that time, Yang Hongwu was worried that Pang Liren and Pang Lijuan would be lured into the formation. After all, this formation was still very powerful. Although he could shield the formation's power, he couldn't easily wake them up after they fell into the formation. If that happened, there would be a huge problem. That would be dangerous. If they were lured into the formation and he woke them up forcefully, they could be seriously injured. If it weren't for that, Yang Hongwu would have liked to let the two women experience the formation. After all, it would be very helpful for their state of mind. However, Yang Hongwu didn't want the two women to take risk. After an hour, the first person came out. Surprisingly, it wasn't the Holy Son of the Dark Knight, the Divine Son of the Apollo Palace, or Anya Shen. It was an ordinary young man. That young man's cultivation level wasn't high, but he was stronger than Yang Hongwu, who had the strength of the first godly emperor layer. That young man had the strength of the third godly emperor layer. His eyes were clear. It was obvious that the young man's state of mind was quite good. After all, apart from Yang Hongwu and the others, that young man was the first one to come out. Tang Beichen, he's Tang Beichen, the young master of the Tang clan, said someone. It's said that Tang Beichen used to be an emperor, but then he destroyed his cultivation level and started cultivating again. Now, a year has passed, and he's already broken through to the third godly emperor layer. In the Dark Knight continent, apart from the Dark Knight clan and the Dark Spirit clan, there were other influential groups. The third influential group was the Ancient Spirit clan. The Tang clan was the strongest clan in the Ancient Spirit clan. Tang Beichen was the young master of the Tang clan, the only heir. Speaking of which, Tang Beichen was extremely strong. He could be considered the most outstanding genius in the history of the Tang clan. He was so young, but he had already broken through to the emperor layer. Back then, Tang Beichen's cultivation speed was even faster than Anya Tianyi's. If the Tang clan hadn't protected him, the Holy Son of the Dark Knight wouldn't have been called the most outstanding genius of the godly emperor layer. Tang Beichen was furious. However, for some unknown reason, Tang Beichen actually gave up on his own cultivation and began to recultivate. Even though Tang Beichen had started cultivating again, his cultivation speed was even more terrifying. In a short year, he had broken through to the third godly emperor layer again. That showed how terrifyingly talented Tang Beichen was. Even the members of the Tang clan hadn't expected that. In fact, if it hadn't been for the War Order and the War Shrine, Tang Beichen wouldn't have shown up. At that moment, another person came out. It was none other than the Holy Son of the Dark Knight who had passed the exam first. When the Holy Son of the Dark Knight came out, he saw Yang Hongwu and the others, as well as Tang Beichen. At that moment, he pulled a long face. He wasn't number one. Not only that, there were as many as 4 people who passed before him. This meant that he was number 5. He was the number 1 genius of the Dark Knight continent, but he was actually ranked 5th in this assessment. How could he accept this? Yang Hongwu Tang Beichen, said the Holy Son of the Dark Knight, his eyes gleaming with murder. He grunted coldly and walked to the side. After Anya Tianyi, the others came out one after another. However, many people's life spirit jade tablets had broken. It meant that they had died in the deployment spell. Many people had died. However, Anya Shenv, the Holy Son of the Dark Knight continent and the others had passed the deployment spell as expected. 3 hours later, less than 600 people had passed the deployment spell, which meant that most of them had died in the deployment spell. Chapter 1773. When everyone heard this, they looked at each other in dismay. The so-called luck was ethereal and illusory. It was impossible to see and touch. Comparing luck was a little too mystical. Lord Sung, may I know how to tell the so-called luck? The divine prince of Apollo Palace asked. The Azure Emperor waved his hand, causing an abyss to appear in front of him. Above the abyss there was a passageway, and on this passageway there were many lattices. Sung Emperor said, "Do you see that? You will need to pass through this passage and enter the other side to test your aptitude. This passage is filled with dangers. Those with great luck will be fine, but those with bad luck will be met with many disasters upon entering the passage. If you are careless, you will die. If you are careless, you will be severely injured or even die. Moreover, I can tell you clearly that the death rate is the highest in this passage." The passage was only a few dozen feet long. Many people did not put it in their eyes. This is the only passageway. I can cross it with a single step. At this moment, someone spoke up. What luck? My luck is definitely the strongest. As he spoke, he took a step forward and entered the passage. He thought that he could cross it easily, but he was pushed down by a powerful force as soon as he entered. He was pushed to the edge. That person was shocked. Everyone looked at him. It was not that simple. Unless your strength is a realm higher than mine, you can't force your way through. Sung Emperor said. This passage can only be taken one step at a time. It's impossible to cross it. That person's face changed. His performance just now was too embarrassing. He took a step forward and entered the passage. However, the moment he took his first step, a terrifying flame shot out from under his feet. The flame instantly enveloped him. He screamed and tried to dodge, but he was unable to do so. In a few breaths of time, his entire body was burned to ashes by the flame and turned into smoke. Ashes scattered in the void. When everyone saw this scene, they all sucked in a breath of cold air. Terrifying. It was too terrifying. Even though that person wasn't very strong, he was still at the peak of the godly emperor realm, a half-step imperial emperor realm cultivator. Such a strong cultivator couldn't even pass the first step and was burned to ashes. Not even his soul was left behind. Terrifying, terrifying. What kind of terrifying existence was in this passage? Was this really the so-called luck test? This sudden change made people a little worried. Many people who were originally eager to enter the tunnel stopped in their tracks, not daring to try at all. Among them, there were many powerful people who saw the death of the first person on this passage. They didn't even sense how the flame appeared or how it disappeared. In just a few breaths, the person who stepped on the passage was already dead. How would they dare to casually try it again? Try? No one was willing to die. Thus, after that person's death, the people present, the people who had been clamoring incessantly and thought that their luck was unparalleled, were all scared stiff, and did not dare to take the first step. You go. At this time, the dark night Saint's son pointed at a person and said coldly, I. Lord Holy Son, I. That person jumped in fright when he heard that. Lord Holy Son, I don't want to die yet. Humph, if you don't go, I'll kill you. The dark night Saint's son said coldly, moreover, your family will not have a good ending. If you go, I'll take good care of your family. I'll give your children enough resources so that they can become the true disciples of the Dark Knight Heavenly Sect. Yes. That person's expression changed. Finally, he nodded. He took a deep look at the Dark Knight Saint's son and walked toward the passage. When he took the first step carefully, he was so nervous that he even closed his eyes. He was ready to die. However, to his surprise, when he took the first step, he was not only fine, but his state of mind was also stabilized. This made him overjoyed. I'm not dead. I'm not dead. He was overjoyed and shouted loudly. His entire person was excited to the extreme. He was very happy that he was fine. However, in the next moment, tragedy happened. When he took the second step, a beam of strong light appeared in the void and sent him flying. He crashed into the ground and another person was sent flying as well. This attack had seriously injured him. Cough, cough. He coughed out a few mouthfuls of blood. His face was pale. He was almost crippled. Looks like he's not lucky enough. But he's a bit luckier than that guy, so he's not dead, the divine son of Apollo Pallas murmured. At this time, the Dark Knight Saint's son looked at another person. This person was a genius from a small sect. When he looked at that person was so frightened that he took a few steps back. You go. What about you? If you don't go, I'll kill your whole sect. The Dark Knight Saint's son threatened coldly. His eyes were filled with murderous intent. Shameless. At this time, Pangliren could not stand it anymore and shouted. What? Do you want to go for him? The Dark Knight Saint's son snorted. Murderous intent flashed in his eyes as he stared at Pangliren. Do you dare to do it? Pangliren was not afraid. She glared at him and said, You're afraid of death. You won't be able to achieve anything great. What top genius of the Dark Knight continent? That's all you've got. Yang Hongwu lightly snorted, pulled the two women up, and stepped into the passage. Step by step, what shocked everyone was that when he brought the two women up the passage, it was as if they were walking on flat ground. There was not the slightest change. Seeing this, Anya Shenv quickly chased after them. He shouted, Wait for me, young master. Anya Shenv went to Yang Hongwu's side and grabbed Yang Hongwu's arm. Shameless. Shameless. Pangliren's face turned ugly when she saw the goddess of the Dark Knight's behavior. Shameless? Anya Shenv smiled and said, I just want young Master Yang to help me pass through this passage and borrow some of your luck. Would you be stingy? You? Pangliren was so angry that she trembled. She could not fight here. She was worried that it would cause a lot of trouble. After all, this passage was very strange. Okay, stop it. Yang Hongwu moved away from Anya Shenv without leaving a trace. At this moment, the goddess of the Dark Knight looked at Yang Hongwu with hidden bitterness, as if she was a woman who had been abandoned by him. Yang Hongwu smiled bitterly. Chapter 1774. The group moved very quickly, and in a short while, They had already passed through the passage. Many people couldn't help it when they saw this scene. Yang Hongwu's group of 3, plus Anya Shen's group of 4, actually passed through the passage without any incident. Everyone rubbed their palms, and many people had already walked into the passage. However, unlike Yang Hongwu's group, this group of people who went up were treated differently. Many of them were burned to death or frozen to death at the first step, and some were seriously injured. However, there were also people who reached the middle of the passage without any mishap. The Saint of the Dark Knight's face was livid. He walked halfway and was safe before. However, in the middle of the passage, he was almost shot by a sharp arrow from the void. If he didn't react quickly, he would probably be injured. Damn it! He cursed in his heart. Although he was almost injured, he didn't stop. Next, he more or less encountered some attacks, but it was still not too difficult. He passed through the passage without any mishap and reached the other side. One after another, people passed through, but most of them were blocked by this passage. Of course, the number of people who died was a lot, almost half of them. And the people who really passed were less than 1/3. The original 600 people, only 200 people were left. The death rate and passing rate were really frightening. The death rate was only half, which was too low. Although the death rate was not as terrifying as before, it should be known that the remaining 600 people were all geniuses with amazing luck and talent. At this time, Yang Hongwu was the first to arrive in front of the talent tower. He stretched out his hand and pressed on the talent tower. In an instant, the talent tower lit up and flickered with light. The talent tower was divided into 10 floors. Every time a floor lit up, it meant that one's talent had increased by 1 floor. 10 floors of the talent tower meant 10 grade. Every floor lit up meant 1 grade. The more floors lit up, the higher one's talent. After Yang Hongwu's hand pressed on the talent tower, the floors lit up one by one. When the 7th floor lit up, Yang Hongwu's hand left the talent tower. Next was Pang Liren and the other girl. Their talents were also very high. They directly lit up 6 levels. When they reached the 7th level, it also dimmed. Only then did the 2 girls let go of their hand. On the other hand, the Tsang Emperor was surprised that Yang Hongwu was able to escape from the tower before it was fully lit up. One had to know that the talent pagoda wasn't so simple. Unless one's strength reached his level, it was impossible to leave the talent pagoda. However, Yang Hongwu had done it. He had concealed his talent. He was hiding his strength. Amazing, truly amazing. Worthy of being the person that the Lord values. The Tsang Emperor thought in his heart. One had to admit that Yang Hongwu was truly too outstanding, too heaven-defying. His strength was actually so powerful, and his talent was so terrifying that he could actually leave the innate talent pagoda on his own. The Tsang Emperor was very clear that if he was the one who tested his talent, he wouldn't be able to leave the talent pagoda so easily with his hand on it. Although it wouldn't be easy, if he forcefully left it, he would suffer a backlash. It was precisely because of this that he knew how terrifying and powerful Yang Hongwu was. He even guessed that even his lord, the Lord of the War Shrine, wasn't as strong as him. After Yang Hongwu and the other 2, it was Anya Shen's turn. Anya Shen came to the front of the talent pagoda and stretched out her slender hand. The talent pagoda lit up, instantly lighting up the 6th floor, then the 7th floor, then the 8th floor. The talent pagoda wasn't completely lit up. Talent 7.5 grade. Next was the Dark Knight Saint's son. This guy's talent was very outstanding. He actually lit up the 7th floor directly. When he reached the 8th floor, he actually lit it up. The moment the 8th floor lit up, the Dark Knight Saint's son was very proud. That arrogant look made him look like a proud rooster. However, Yang Hongwu showed a trace of disdain on his face. However, when the Apollo Divine Sun went up, he also lit up the 8th floor. This made the Dark Knight Saint's son's face turn ugly. He didn't expect the Apollo Divine Sun's talent to be the same as his. However, the most shocking one was Tang Beichen. When Tang Beichen pressed his hand on the talent pagoda, 8 floors lit up instantly. Moreover, the 9th floor showed signs of lighting up. This made the Dark Knight Saint's son and the others' faces change drastically. The murderous intent in the Dark Knight Saint's son's eyes was self-evident. Moreover, there was jealousy in his eyes. Yes, jealousy. Tang Beichen lit up the 9th floor of the talent pagoda at the end. What did this mean? It meant that his talent was 9th grade. Compared to him, it was a full grade higher. 9th grade talent. Terrifying. Too terrifying. They knew about it. After all, it was recorded in the ancient books. A 9th grade talent was even more terrifying than the sun god. The sun god's talent was the same as theirs, only 8th grade. And Tang Beichen in front of them was a 9th grade talent. On top of that, when he passed through the passageway, he didn't get attacked at all. This meant that his luck was also terrifying. Tang Beichen's luck was better than his talent was better than his. It could be said that Tang Beichen was better than him in everything except cultivation. Tang Beichen only had the strength of the 3rd godly emperor layer, while Anya Tianyi was already an emperor. The difference between a cultivator of the 3rd godly emperor layer and an emperor layer was like the difference between heaven and earth. If they really fought, he could easily kill Tang Beichen. Therefore, he was prepared to kill Tang Beichen in the Tsangwang world during the 3rd round of the exam. Otherwise, if Tang Beichen grew up, he would be terrifying. At that time, the entire Dark Knight continent would be under Tang Beichen's control. The ancient spirit clan was just a weak clan. How could they be compared to the Anya clan? How could Tang Beichen compete with him? So what if he was talented? So what if he was lucky? Geniuses were nothing more than geniuses. Before they grew up, they were nothing more than weaklings. A fallen genius was nothing more than nothing. Thinking of this, Anya Tianyi's mouth curled up into a sneer. After killing Tang Beichen, the divine son of the Apollo Palace and the dark spirit Holy Sun, he would be able to obtain their luck and even steal their talent. Those who have a 5th grade talent and above can enter the 3rd round. As soon as the Tsangwang finished speaking, those who had a 5th grade talent were instantly transported to a special space. Chapter 1775. After entering the Azure Emperor realm, the first thing they saw was a vast expanse of land. In the middle of the vast expanse of land, there was a towering divine pagoda. The Azure Emperor Divine Pagoda. Welcome everyone to my Azure Emperor realm. This is the Azure Emperor Divine Pagoda, and everyone here has their own name. Right now, all of you don't have the Azure Emperor token, hence there's no ranking. But after you obtain the Azure Emperor token, your ranking will be revealed. The more tokens you obtain, the higher your ranking will be. Let me give you a friendly reminder. The Azure Emperor token is a good item. You can exchange it for whatever you want in my Azure Emperor Divine Pagoda. The Azure Emperor waved his hands as a list of treasures appeared in the Azure Emperor Divine Pagoda. On this list, there were various treasures, weapons, cultivation arts, spiritual pills, etc., wondrous medicines, etc. There were all sorts of items listed. These treasures were categorized into different tiers. The better the item, the more tokens were required to exchange for it. Among the treasures listed, there was actually a supreme treasure. This caused the eyes of the crowd to widen. A supreme treasure, that was something everyone yearned for even in their dreams. Of those present, none of them had a supreme treasure. If they could obtain one, their strength would definitely soar. However, the number of Azure Emperor tokens required for this supreme treasure was also an astronomical figure. There are a total of 100,000 Azure Emperor tokens. Everyone, please work hard. As the sound of his voice faded, the Azure Emperor vanished. The eyes of the crowd widened in shock. That supreme treasure actually required a total of 100,000 Azure Emperor tokens to refine. Hence, it was almost impossible to exchange for this supreme treasure. No one would be able to obtain 100,000 tokens in one go, let alone the fact that there would be people exchanging for treasures along the way. Hence, it was almost impossible to exchange for that supreme treasure. But of course, it wasn't that no one was able to do so. The only way to do so was to kill, to directly stand guard in front of the Azure Emperor Divine Pagoda and slaughter everyone. As long as everyone was killed, there would be no need to worry about obtaining the supreme treasure. However, this was only possible if one had absolute strength. After all, no matter how strong one was, it was impossible to kill everyone. The difficulty was simply too great. For example, right now, who among them had the confidence to kill all of them? Was it the Saint Child of the Dark Night? The son of God of Apollo Palace? Could it be the Montenegro or the Demon City's Lord, Tianshang? None of these people could do it. In fact, the strongest person present was Tianshang. Although his talent was not the strongest, his combat strength was indeed the strongest and most terrifying. However, even a terrifying expert like Tianshang dared not say that he could fight against two of them. With his current strength, he was confident to fight one-on-one. If it was one-on-two, he could only fight against ordinary geniuses. But if he was to fight against a top genius like the Dark Knight Saint, this was because he might not be able to win easily even in a one-on-one battle. However, humans were ambitious. As the saying goes, humans die for wealth and birds die for food. Who wouldn't want a supreme treasure? Therefore, there were people who fought for the treasure. One of them was the Saint of the Dark Night. As for the others, no one knew. He didn't show it. Of course, as far as Yang Hongwu was concerned, they were just precious treasures. Yang Hongwu had his own life grand seal, which was a supreme precious treasure. However, his life grand seal was still incomplete. Let's go. Yang Hongwu naturally knew that the Saint of the Dark Night Saint wanted to attack him. However, Yang Hongwu didn't care. At least, the Saint of the Dark Night Saint wouldn't be so stupid at the beginning. If he dared to attack now, he would undoubtedly become the target of public criticism. Seeing that Yang Hongwu was about to leave, the Saint of the Dark Night Saint narrowed his eyes and winked at a person behind him. That person nodded and followed him. Anya Shenv also followed at this time and shouted, "Young Master Yang, wait for me." Not only Anya Shenv, but Baiji Elder also followed after thinking for a while. To everyone's surprise, Tang Beichen also followed. Seeing this, the Saint of the Dark Night Saint's face darkened. He originally wanted to kill Yang Hongwu directly, but now it was not easy to deal with him. Yang Hongwu and the other two weren't very strong, so he didn't care. Even if they were talented and lucky, so what? In front of absolute strength, everything was meaningless. However, with Anya Shenv, Baiji Elder, and Tang Beichen, things were different. Tang Beichen was the one the Saint of the Dark Night Saint cared about the most. For him, Tang Beichen was the biggest threat, so he had to kill him. He was the only cultivator of the 9th level. Even though there was only a fine line between a cultivator of the 8th level and a cultivator of the 9th level, in fact, there was a world of difference. From Tang Beichen's cultivation speed, one could see how terrifyingly talented Tang Beichen was. Besides, even though Tang Beichen only had the strength of the 3rd godly emperor layer, after all, he had recultivated. Even though his cultivation level wasn't high enough, his fighting abilities were terrifying. Besides, he dared to act so boldly, which meant that he had confidence. "Prince of the Dark Night Saint, why don't we join hands?" said Montenegro to Anya Tiani at that moment. Montenegro. Anya Tiani didn't care about the Montenegro. Even though the Montenegro was famous and strong, the Montenegro wasn't strong enough. Montenegro was strong, but compared to the Dark Knight clan, it was nothing. However, things were different here. There were only 200 people in the Tsang Emperor world, and Anya Tiani didn't have many people on his side. After all, even though the Dark Knight clan was strong, they had many geniuses. Among the 200 people, almost half of them were geniuses from the Dark Knight clan. However, those geniuses didn't listen to Anya Tiani. On the contrary, the Montenegro was extremely strong here. Once they started fighting, the Montenegro was terrifying. One-on-one, they couldn't fight Montenegro, but if they fought in groups, they would have an advantage. In the outside world, Anya Tiani wouldn't have cared about the Montenegro, but at that moment, he needed an ally. At least, he needed an ally now. After thinking for a while, Anya Tiani nodded and said, "All right." Chapter 1776. However, Montenegro wouldn't tell anyone about this. Although he was now an ally of Anya Tiani, there were still many things that he wouldn't tell anyone. Moreover, it wouldn't be a good thing for him if he told anyone about this. It could even be said that it would be shameful. How could he tell anyone about this shameful thing? At this moment, many people had already scattered, especially those who were weaker and didn't have any strong backing. They instantly scattered in all directions, searching for the Azure Emperor token. To them, there was no way they could be compared to the likes of the Sun God Child and Saint Child of the Dark Knight. If they encountered these people, they would be dead for sure. One had to know that in the third test, it was possible to kill someone to obtain the Azure Emperor token. It wasn't like the previous tests where they couldn't fight each other. For some of the weaker martial artists, one was to form a group, and the other was to go into hiding. Against the likes of the Saint Child of the Dark Knight, only by grouping up would they have a chance of survival. If they didn't, they could only avoid them. At this moment, Yang Hongwu had already entered a forest. Yang Hongwu narrowed his eyes and stopped. "Big brother Yang, why did you stop?" Yang Hongwu didn't say anything. With a wave of his hand, a talisman was thrown out. In the next moment, the forest in front of them seemed to ripple, and the forest disappeared, replaced by a swamp. And under the swamp, there were bubbles. Seeing the things in the swamp, the crowd couldn't help but suck in a breath of cold air. Morning crocodile. Oh my God, it's actually a morning crocodile. And there's not just one. Everyone was stunned. Morning crocodile, just hearing this name was already incredible. Morning crocodile, morning crocodile. Once one encountered a morning crocodile, it would be extremely dangerous. The morning crocodile was an extremely ferocious mutated beast. Its attack was terrifying and its defense was shocking. Under the same level, it could be said that almost no cultivator could contend against it. Over there, the Azure Emperor token. At this moment, Pang Liren pointed at an ancient tree opposite the swamp. The Azure Emperor token on the tree was extremely eye-catching. But how do we get there? If we want to get there, we have to deal with these zombie crocodiles. Otherwise, we won't be able to get there at all, said Anya Shenv. At this moment, Old Man Baiji said, "Although the Morning Gate crocodiles are terrifying, they are not without weaknesses. I almost forgot that Senior Baiji is here. Senior Baiji is a know-it-all. With Senior Baiji around, the morning crocodile is nothing," said Anya Shenv. The old man couldn't help but wryly smile after hearing this. "Your Highness, you are overpraising me. This old man is not that powerful. I am nothing compared to your Highness." "Senior, there's no need to be humble." At this moment, Tang Beichen said, "Senior, why don't you tell us what the zombie crocodile's weakness is? After all, we have to pass through this swamp. Moreover, time is of the essence, so we can't waste too much time." Old Man Baiji said, "The weakness of these crocodiles is actually very obvious. However, ordinary people can't do it, and that is to freeze this area. Then, the crocodiles will be restricted. Even if they can't completely freeze this swamp, they still have to think of a way to freeze this swamp. Freeze it. After that, even if we can't kill the zombie crocodile, we can still safely pass through this area." ice, but none of us here has a way to freeze this area. Tang Beichen said with a serious expression. None of the people present had the ability to seal ice. It would be extremely difficult to seal this area in ice. This won't be a problem for Brother Yang. At this time, Pang Li said. I also believe in young Master Yang. These zombie crocodiles won't be able to stop young Master Yang. Anya Shenv nodded and looked at Yang Hongwu meaningfully. Shameless. Pang Li was not satisfied and pushed Anya Shenv away. Anya Shenv, on the other hand, smiled slightly and did not care at all. He even gave her a provocative look. Pang Li pouted angrily, but there was nothing she could do. After all, this was not the time for conflict. At this time, Old Man Baiji and Tang Beichen also looked at Yang Hongwu. Young Master Yang, do you have a way to deal with these zombie crocodiles? Tang Beichen asked, or, can you freeze this area and let us pass? It's a small matter. Yang Hongwu smiled slightly and looked very confident. As he said that, Yang Hongwu took out something. It was a talisman. In fact, Yang Hongwu had countless ways to freeze this area. Of course, using a talisman was the simplest and least laborious method. As soon as the talisman was thrown out, a terrifying chill erupted in an instant. This chill froze the entire swamp in an instant. In an instant, all the zombie crocodiles were also frozen under the layer of ice. Although the zombie crocodile was strong, its only weakness was that it needed temperature. When it was frozen, the zombie crocodile's strength would be greatly reduced. Even if its defense was still strong, its movements would be much slower. After all, crocodiles were cold-blooded animals. In a frozen state, their attack power was much weaker. The group was very happy when they saw that the swamp had been frozen. I didn't expect young Master Yang to be prepared. This freezing talisman is not ordinary. It's actually a top 10th grade talisman, Tang Beichen said. What do you know? My big brother Yang is a talisman master. He has all kinds of talismans. Not to mention one freezing talisman, even if he wants 10 or 100 of them, it's just a small matter. Pang Li was very proud, as if she was talking about herself. Okay, now that I've frozen the swamp, we can pass through, Yang Hongwu said. That's right. We can't waste any time. Although the morning crocodile is temporarily frozen, it isn't an ordinary beast. Although being frozen is its weakness, this weakness isn't something that can be dealt with. This ice seal is only temporary. It will break soon. Therefore, we must pass through here as soon as possible. Otherwise, if the zombie crocodiles break out of the ice, it will be troublesome, Old Man Baiji said. Yes, Senior is right. We must hurry. If the ice seal is broken in the process of passing through the swamp, it will be troublesome, Tang Beichen said. I'll walk in front. You all follow behind, Tang Beichen said at this time. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.